hit subscribe. Subscribe to my guy, Uncle D. Tell him Big Bass sent you.
Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas, an advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father. I have black sons. Hey, man, I do what I do.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the broadcast. Shout out to Mr. 43TX for being the first person in here. Shout out to everybody around the world. Make sure you hit the #1 button. I want to go ahead and get this thing started. Somebody type next in the chat room. Next in the chat room. My name is Dennis Spurling, and I am a podcaster here. And I enjoy what I'm doing. Shout out to Hard Hitting History. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you type next in the chat room. Apparently, there are a lot of immigrants who are dealing with a lot of issues right now related to ICE. I remind you of the fact that many of these folks voted for Trump. Latinos for Trump. You got Muslims for Trump. And as the old saying goes, misery loves company. And now they're saying that we are next. Okay, and that seems to be a misunderstanding, especially amongst these folk, especially amongst the Black and Hispanic immigrants. I don't think they realize that we weren't immigrants, number one. They don't really teach American history overseas. Most Africans have no idea about the transatlantic slave trade. So when they come here, they just assume that, we got here like they did. And that's just incorrect. Hispanics don't know. They just, whatever, I'm not sure. But here's the thing. They assume that Black Americans, when I say Black Americans, I'm referring to foundational Black Americans. And let me be absolutely clear about something. When I say FBA, I'm talking about the American Negro. I'm talking about the freedmen. I am talking about people who used to be referred to as colored. I'm referring to the term that we've been using since the 1980s, African American, before it became obsolete. Okay, and whatever you want to call yourself, you may not like that descriptive term, FBA, but it's simply an adjective to explain that these are the people who've been here since before, who can trace their lineage back to the times of slavery. So that's who you want to be deported. Okay, this is where we are. So this is specifically targeted at us. Not necessarily concerned about the Asians or the Irish. And I keep bringing up the Samoans. You're not trying to get the Samoans deported, right? Just these Black people. The Blacks are next. Somebody type the Blacks. The Blacks are next, right? But any one of those names, choose, and that's who we're talking about. Okay. Now let's let me try to frame, why this is wrong. Okay. Number one, we're never next, because we're always now. Okay, let's start with that. But from the moment this country was built, Black Americans were not a future problem to be managed. We were the present force to be controlled. Slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, police violence. Every era has had a system designed specifically for us in real time, and that's not theory. America did not experiment on us. It organized itself around us. And when those systems reached their limits, when oppression exceeded containment, there was a predictable response. It wasn't organized rebellion. It wasn't a centralized revolt. but it was something far more destabilizing. It was a diffuse, asymmetrical, uncontrollable eruption that the state could not easily predict, negotiate with, or suppress. Watts, Newark, Detroit, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Ferguson. See, these weren't ideological movements, they were pressure releases. And that response wasn't foreign to America, it was deeply American. See, this country was born in violence, expanded through violence, and stabilized through selective tolerance of violence when the cost of suppression exceeded the cost of concession, from the Boston Tea Party to labor uprisings to race relations. American history shows the same pattern. When a population is treated as disposable, but structurally indispensable, instability becomes inevitable. That's the part many people miss. Foundational Black Americans are not trapped here. Structurally, culturally, historically, we are America. Our labor built it, our culture defines it, our resistance reshaped it, and every attempt to erase, replace, remove, or permanently subordinate us has failed, not because of a moral awakening, but because the cost of doing so is too high. This is why deportation fantasies that these immigrants are having and these white nationalists are having, this is why they collapse under scrutiny. And this is why elimination rhetoric, it always stops short of implementation. We are not the ones. And see, this is why every strategy eventually shifts from domination to management. The country is not holding us hostage, it's managing a permanent contradiction it can't resolve without destabilizing itself. Immigrants, Blacks or otherwise, often misunderstand this because they enter this system much later. They experience American power as conditional. We experience it as foundational. They can be excluded. We can't be removed without tearing the structure itself apart. And that is the reality history teaches, not as a threat, not as a demand, but as a fact, a pattern repeated over centuries. America cannot escape the cost of its treatment of Black people. It is only delayed payment. And delay has always been more expensive than justice. And that's not prophecy, that's precedent. Now, to be an American, to be an American is to be born into a nation violent in its origins, yet idealistic in its language. The United States wasn't formed through consensus or moral purity, but through war and conquest and slavery and displacement, and then wrapped in rhetoric of liberty and equality. And that's a contradiction. It's not a flaw in America's character. It's the character. And from the beginning, the country has preached universal ideals while practicing this selective inclusion in the form of racism. And it's forced every generation to confront the gap between the promise and the reality that we all live. America also runs on pressure. Whether we talk about, look, the economics are ruthless. The politics are adversarial. People get unalived in America about politics. And here's the cold part about it. Even the progress, whether it's putting a man on the moon or coming up with a car, a way to drive, is always driven because of a crisis. Wealth that we build is typically because through exploitation, whether it's taking Native Americans' land or utilizing the forced labor of African people dragged to this country. Real change is almost always followed disruption, war, depression, unrest. And ingenuity here is rarely born from comfort. It comes from necessity, resistance, and competition. The system doesn't eliminate conflict, it manages it. Is this above you all's head? Are y'all with me? Let me know. Let me know if you're still with me. I'm just getting warmed up. America is a violent place in its origins. You understand that? It's violent. It's ruthless. American identity is not grounded in innocence or harmony or myth. It's built on struggle within a system built on power and conflict and competition. So to be an American is not to believe the nation's promises at face value, but to understand how the system actually works to survive within it. And if capable, to bend it to your advantage or force it to change through law, coalition, of power. And by that definition, Black Americans, specifically, those of us descended from slavery, are not marginal to America. We are central to it. We learned America the hard way, through labor, through violence, through exclusion, and survival. See, our history includes building churches, schools, and businesses and movements, but it also includes uprisings when the system refuses accountability. And that doesn't make us un-American. It makes us fluent. We are not a passive people. We are a survival people. And when justice is denied, we have always responded in the language America understands all too well: pressure, disruption, and collective resistance. Now, I'd like to go ahead and get this thing cracking. But again, as I said, the whole point of this broadcast is that people are saying that we're next. Somebody type next in the chat room. They keep saying we're next. I'm like, who are you talking to? Or should I say, who do you think you talking to? But just to go ahead and lay the foundation, let me go ahead and let these videos play. You guys make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I need to get myself, I think another 40 subscribers, and I'll be at 92,500 people. Let's push this thing along. I need 40 subscribers. And I know you all are just getting warmed up. I'm getting warmed up. I'm here a little earlier tonight than I normally am because I like to finish a little sooner than I normally would. But I need you all to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to the channel. It's a free one. You know, I know Friday, you get your check tomorrow. You might not be able to give me a super chat, and I'm cool with that. But I need 40 people to subscribe to the channel. Okay, so go ahead and do that now. In the meantime, hit the like button. And I want to get over these formalities early. You know, as you know, I'm trying to march towards 100,000. So I'd appreciate you all helping me with that. The other thing is, of course, if you learn something, then I should earn something. And what I want you all to learn tonight is who you are as a people. Stop letting the whole point of this is to remind you who you are as a people. So when they come up with these fear tactics, got you thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do next? We already know what we're going to do next. And what's understood don't need to be said. Just like we knew we were going to rest. It's not like we sent out some mass emails or something. We knew we were going to rest. This is what we do. Okay? They just don't know. Some of you young people don't know. But I'm going to remind you of who you are tonight and what you've done. But either way, the first thing is, let's go ahead and look at some of these videos. You guys hit the #1 button. You all make sure, let me know you can hear these people talk.
Next. That's what we're going with. That's what we're going with. That's what I guess that's what we're going with, y'all. Next. Next.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Right.
Next.
We been now.
Next.
Not gonna happen. We now. You keep saying we next. We been now. We been next. Let's keep going.
I had a few Hispanic people ask me this question. How would you like it if ICE came in your neighborhood and deported your family as if Black people are next?
Mm-hmm.
When are y'all going to understand that Black people, we paid our dues, babe? Yeah, our ancestors were slaves, but they fought for slavery, and we were also free from slavery. thanks to the Republican Party and also the Civil War.
Because we fought for it.
Babe, I was born here. Babe, I have a social security card here. Babe, I have an ID here. Babe, I have a birth certificate here. Babe, I am an American. You will never see me get deported. Ever.
And they'd be wise not to try. But
Never. You would never see a black American get deported here. And I think it pisses you guys off that there is no black man or black woman's narrative as far as like this ICE situation. Babe, this is not our battle. Black people sitting this one out. Black people been saying they was gonna sit this one out ever since Trump became president. And I'm glad we sitting this one.
So Tootie Gardner says, don't you mean you can't be deported? No, what I mean is we won't. Okay, let me get in top. What I'm saying, Tootie, is that we won't. You ever hear somebody say, oh no, that won't happen? That's the difference between, oh, that can't happen. Can't implies an option. Won't implies something else. I'm gonna let you pontificate on that for a minute. You roll that up and smoke it. You can put that between your lips and fire that up, and we're gonna get back to the broadcast. But it's a difference between they can't be deported and they won't. Okay, I want to be real clear with you. Won't is a difference than can't. Okay, praise God.
One out. Because, babe, this is not our fight. Your parents knew what they were doing when they brought you guys over here illegally and still chose to stay in illegal. That's on them. Many other people knew what they were doing when they chose to come here illegally and started scamming and started harming people, harming women, harming children, etc. They knew what they was doing. This is not a black community's problem. This is not a black man, black woman's problem, babes.
And it won't be.
So I'm gonna need for you all,
it won't be
or
our
whoever
problem.
else that like to throw that narrative towards me as if that's supposed to bring fear into my life. It's not gonna work.
That's what they're trying to do.
I am an American citizen.
No.
That part.
And that's just what they're trying to do. Is they want us to be afraid. You see, they want you to be afraid. And see, I'm not going to sit up here and let nobody mess up my peace of mind and happiness. You understand me? It's not going to happen. And I don't want that to happen to you all. They trying to send shivers down our bones. They want us to be as afraid as they are. They're afraid to come outside. They don't want to go to the quinceañera. You know what I'm saying? The Nigerians ain't had a wedding in years now. You understand? Them Nigerians were passing out that money. Can't do it now. ICE might show up outside. Oh my God, we have to go. Oh no, they are taking no quinceañeras, no carne asadas. You understand? None of that. None of that has happened. No Chinese New Year, no parades, nothing. Everybody, ICE will be there. Y'all know ICE is going to Italy to escort the American bobsled team for the snow. The Winter Olympics. I said, how you gonna deport some people from Italy? Y'all gonna go over there and deport the people from Italy? But you in America. This is where they at. ICE is on one, and got them all scared, and they want us to be scared, but we ain't scared. We are not afraid of that. Let's keep going. Go ahead. Y'all let me know if you can hear this.
I don't see how a lot of y'all black people don't be getting offended by people saying that we're gonna be next by ICE. Like, bro, they're basically saying that we're not citizens. They're basically saying like we don't.
No, but what they're saying is the white man is gonna put you out anyway. That's what they said. They believe the Almighty. We got some white men in there. Shout out to Professor Mex. Professor Mex is down in Mexico. Okay, he's a white man. they swearing down. To some of these immigrants, the white man is Jesus Christ himself. They got a picture. Everybody know that the dude on the wall is not Jesus, okay? But they got a picture. They pray. They loved it. They think the white man is God Almighty. You see what I'm saying? And it has a lot to do with the fact that they have, they got this awe for white folk. Black folk been living around white folk for damn near 500 years. We got them pretty figured out. and they have us figured out. But these immigrants, the white man's just gonna put you, he's gonna take your right. 14th Amendment be damned. The white man's just gonna put you because the white man can do anything. That's what they think, brother. I'm just trying to let me let you, the brother finish.
Deserve to be here. They're basically saying that we could be next. Like they don't compare any other race to them. You see how like when they use that fear-mongering tactic, they only use black people because they see us as pawns. They don't see us as equal on that side. They see us as pawns, and that they can use that to manipulate us to help them push the agenda that they want to push. And then y'all
they want to scare us into thinking that this is our fight, and so that we can run to the front lines and they can go sit down. These are the type of people that get in the fight, and then when you come help them, then they go sit down or they go get in their car. You see what I mean? This is what they want to happen. They want this to be a spectacle, okay? But it's not gonna happen. Let's keep listening.
Are falling right into the laps and are getting mad at other black people for saying, hey, I ain't going nowhere. I was born in this land. I'm here. I'm an American. Like, it's a fear-mongering tactic, and you guys should be absolutely, like, you should feel disrespected. Like, we've always had stigmas on our back. We've always been the ones to carry the stigma. We've always been stereotyped. But these people are going after illegal aliens. ICE is not going after any black people. If they are going after any black heritage, there are black heritages like Haitians, illegal aliens that are here. Yes, understandable. But they're here illegally. Like, I was born in Florida. I'm a U.S. citizen. I ain't going nowhere. So I get offended when people are like, oh, you're going to be next. You're going to be next. All right.
And they keep saying that. And unfortunately, if they keep saying it, eventually you're going to have black people that are going to believe that. And then that's going to draw them out. Okay. And so that's why I'm here. We're going to put an end to that. I'm going to let you, I'm going to explain to you all how this is going to work. Y'all hit the number 1 button if you can hear. And shout out to all the people who are in here who have subscribed to the channel. I appreciate you guys. Please subscribe to the channel. All I need is 40 more people to get to 92,500. Let's do that.
Video is just for the black people that follow me. If you're not black, you can still watch it, but that's who this video is addressed to. Okay, so just because you're black doesn't mean we believe the same things. Black people are all across the world, and even in America, we all have different values and stuff, right? I know it's a very, very small percentage of you that actually voted for Trump, and I also know it's a very small...
It's hard to concentrate because his brother got this nose ring right here. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to focus. It's hard to focus because the nose ring. But we'll try. I mean, I'm gonna just hold my nose.
Small percentage of you that actually like Trump at all. But I know that there's a lot of black people out there that don't think that ICE has anything to do with us. And you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Racists in masks that are endorsed by the government that make brown people disappear is one of the oldest methods of tyranny in this country. They perfected it on black bodies in the South, all across the country, right? And now they're just federalizing it and weaponizing it. And the thing with fascist takeovers in any country is that it always starts with the lowest hanging fruit, which in this case are immigrants. Do you think that these conservatives just forgot about black people? Do you think those same...
I'm going to stop the broadcast, and I want to make a big shout out to Man-Made 33. No more pimping out FBAs. Thank you so much for being the first person to contribute to the super chat. You are the real MVP. Now, let's get back to this gentleman and his fear-mongering. Basically, he's saying fascist. Basically, that's the men that are police. Okay, that's it. So the police, he's saying the police. That's what he's saying. Men. And matter of fact, 40% of them are little Mexicans. Okay, apparently ICE has employed up to 40%. Is it 50% between ICE and Border Patrol? It's 50% little Mexican dudes. Okay, that's who's gonna put us. That's who's gonna put you black people out of the country. That most of them have accents. We've heard. Let's listen to the young brother again. I'd like to know what his country of origin is. I'd like to know. Maybe, sir, there's a little bias this in there. You trying to fearmonger us and get us regular old black folks, you know, us cotton pickers, you know, us people that don't have culture. You trying to get us off our rest. But I'm gonna listen to them. Let's keep listening.
Same gripes that they have about Mexicans and other immigrants aren't also applying to black people, do you think that they don't blame us for America's problems just as much as them? I
Shout
don't know
out
how
to
old you are
Q
either.
Hill.
I was born in 1999, okay? I was a kid when Obama was president. I remember the era of, oh, racism is solved in America. And even if like your adult conscious brain doesn't believe that, there's
Oh, we too old to understand what's going on. Okay, I'm gonna keep.
still probably a piece of you that's still
Yeah.
in that past era. Maybe you even think that Black Lives Matter opened people's minds to the struggles that we go through.
No, we don't. We don't. Not us older people. Not our adults. Somebody type adult mind. Not us adults. We've seen it. We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot. Okay, I've seen a lot in the past half century of life. So, but keep on, young man. Go ahead, Mr. 1990 man. Try to convince me that you know more about racism. I never believed that racism was over. Respectfully, sir. Go
But
ahead.
no, racism is coming back in this country
It's
with
coming
a
back.
vengeance. We all know
See, that's the difference between me and you, sir. I never believe it left. that's the difference. Praise God. I'm gonna let this young man
about
continue.
white privilege, right? Everybody knows what that is, but there's
Mhm.
also a thing called black privilege, right?
Black
And
privilege.
black privilege
Tell us what black. Somebody type black privilege. Tell us what black privilege is, Mr. 1999 man.
doesn't come in the way of money or
What
status
does it
or
come?
anything like that. Black privilege, in my opinion, is the fact that the world knows that racism against black people is real and dangerous. That's why they have to use so many dog whistles and coded language and
They don't use the dog whistle. They just call you the N-word. That's what they call you. That's not a dog whistle. That's a foghorn, sir. Praise God. Somebody type confusion in the chat room. Just confused. Bless his heart. Bless his little heart. Go ahead, sir.
economic talk and gang violence and things like that, because straight up saying, oh, we need to do this to the black people would set off alarm bells just because of this country's history.
Well, I'm just gonna ask this, Mr. 1999 man. What did you learn in your African study classes that they did to us already? Maybe you don't know that they've done a lot to us. I mean, do you know about Tuskegee, the sterilization? Do you know about the fact that they kept us isolated in certain ghettos, and they call that redlining, and they had a whole system set up. And then when our GIs came back from World War II, they wouldn't give them the GI Bill, even though they risked their life, stuff like that. I think maybe you're too busy getting your nose pierced and you didn't study that particular day in class, but what you're trying to do is compare what you think you know to my lived experience. Adult brain, all you adult brain people, Mr. 1999 says he knows more than you all, okay, about racism. And he said racism, we thought racism was gone. We thought it was our fault because we made a mistake. We thought, that's what he's saying. I want y'all to understand what he praise God. Go ahead.
But we're
sir.
in the anti-woke era, right? So anything that protected any kind of minority is getting stripped away. And they're already cutting through the immigrants, right? They're already cutting through the gays, right?
Yes, sir.
Black people.
Oh, the gays. Oh, you brought up the gay. Okay. Okay. Yeah, all right. Go ahead, sir.
People are next. Get
We're
ready,
next.
prepare, community build. Make sure that you're talking to your friends about this, right? Your family about this, because it's coming for us. Trust me.
Well, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. Let's go on to the next person who's telling us what we apparently don't know already. Let's keep going. But again, okay, I want you all to understand something. When we see that young man out there, we see a young black man, and you see he's operating from a place of fear. Because when people tell you something over and over and over again, you'll begin to believe it. So there are a lot of people who are beginning to become afraid. Well, maybe we are next. Maybe they know something we don't know. And I'm here to share with you all that it won't happen. Okay? It's the difference between can't and won't. All right. And I know we have some people in here who have thesaurus type minds. There's a difference between, I didn't say can't, I said can't and won't. You understand the difference? Won't. You might want, you might want to come in the house right now. Okay. That you is people. Hey, look, people in hell want ice water. You understand? But not gonna happen. But let's keep listening. So, young people who are afraid, I want all the young people who are afraid, come on in here and come talk to Uncle D. We're gonna sit down and I'm gonna explain to you why it won't happen. Okay, let's keep going.
Go on the front lines and fight alongside people that are calling police officers the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
Make it make sense. Anti-blackness is dangerous. Have y'all not learned from the Black Lives Matter protests that we are the ones that are targeted? Have y'all not?
So this little lady, she's referring to a video where there was a T. Somebody typed T. The T was a spectator, while a black ICE officer, somebody typed black ICE, was doing his job, executing some sort of administrative warrant and having some people removed from the country. Okay, and the T called him the ER. The N-word with the ER. That's what happened. Okay. And so that didn't go over that well. And so now it's gone viral. And and they're like, this is who you want us to support? Let's keep going.
That the narrative is always going to be spun that the black people are the bad people, no matter who we're fighting for. Y'all have no level of self-preservation. And this is why we're in the predicament that we're in now. Okay. We help everybody else.
Now, look, I know we got some white supremacists in here. Leave them alone. Let them stay. I want them to stay. I want you to come on here. You need to hear every bit of what I'm about to say this evening after I lay this foundation. Don't run away. I want y'all to stay here. I want all you racist, secret racist people that hide behind little dark channels, stay with me. I want you to stay with me, baby. Uncle D is what you need. I'm trying to tell you, baby. I got you. I want you to come on in. I'm going to give you something you didn't learn. I'm going to teach you what you didn't know. Praise Moses. Let's keep going. Let him stay.
When comes for us to need help, nobody is there. Have y'all forgotten that George Zimmerman off the black boy?
Now, baby, here, what you got to understand is we are there. We are there for ourselves. Okay, I need you to understand that we be there. We don't need all these people. The only people. Look, if you constantly moving furniture into your house, what does that mean? If you constantly having to move furniture in your house, what does that mean? That means you're missing something. The reason Black Americans don't run off asking for help because we can handle our own business. We have been for going on five centuries. We don't need help like that. Those other people need help. We got everything we need in our house to do what we have to do. That's the difference between us and them. You see, the answers are embedded in our culture. You know, that same culture that they say we don't have. That's where the answers are. But we'll let them fit. But don't delete these let the little Nazis and racists stay up in here, man. Don't let them go. Y'all stay here. Y'all gonna love this. Come on in. I'm gonna dedicate a section to you.
The leader of the Proud Boys. Go look up his nationality, baby. He is on the front lines fighting against his own people. The proximity to whiteness and the delusion it causes is dangerous. And this is why we're in the predicament that we're in today. I need y'all to think outside the oh my gosh, we need to have a level of solidarity because we're next. We're always next. We actually never got out of the running.
I mean, y'all hear all this fear. I mean, you hear all this fear. Shout out to James Turner, 5029. Y'all just hear all this fear.
We've always been on the chopping block. Always.
Yes, baby.
Always been on the chopping block.
I know, baby. I know. You cute, though.
Y'all not understand that when the black people go out there on the front lines, that's when it gets violent. If you want to go out there and put your life on the line and not go back to your families and get in all kind of trouble with this administration, not knowing when you're going to come.
She is sweet, girl. She's sweet. Bless her. She's so cute. She's just sweet. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead and finish talking. Go ahead.
Come out not knowing if you're going to be treated lawfully, not knowing if you're going to get any type of due process.
I know.
Have at it. And let me know how that works out for you.
Have at it. She was serious. She don't seem like she raised her voice. That's okay. Bless her heart. Let's get somebody.
Hey, black people next. Black people
You
next.
loud. You loud.
It looks like white people are next.
Oh,
It looks like white people are next up. Like that nurse didn't have it coming because he seemed like a decent guy.
shout out to Alonzo Dunn. Boy, you was aggressive. You your grill, brother. Your grill. You about 10 years too old for that. But go ahead. Go ahead.
But white people have next. So they have like Tim Walz spoke to Trump today, and they'll pull out.
Now you know, brother, I'm gonna be honest. You come off like you got a white girlfriend. You got a white girlfriend. You can't be around here talking bad about white people, talk about white people next. You got a white girlfriend. You ain't fooling me. You got that I got a white girlfriend hat on. You got that I got a white girlfriend hat on right now. That's what you look like. But I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead. Talking about we next. We know what you about to do next. Going over there and get you a mayonnaise sandwich. And I know what you're doing. Go ahead.
ICE. But who knows for how long? So they say, so what the debate was, black people are next.
Probably Italian. He probably got an Italian white girlfriend. That's what it sounds like to me, in my opinion. But go ahead.
Or the information was black people are next. He kept trying to put that out. No, it's white people.
See, his girlfriend is probably like Italian or Middle Eastern, so she's not quite white. You know how they do. You know, oh, she's not white, she's Jewish. She's not white, she's Italian. You know, Italians aren't white. Somebody type in the chat room. But let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay. But you see, this is what they try to do, make us afraid.
After they done coming for the brown people, they gonna start coming to the black people next.
Did she burp? I'm sorry. Let me run that back.
When did they ever stop?
I'm sorry. Did you just burp? What are you doing? Let me see. Hold on a minute. Let me see if we can catch this.
Which one of them came on here and said after they done coming for the brown people, they gonna start coming to?
So you just belching on TikTok, ma'am? I see you just lost half your credibility right there. You was on the roll, and now you just burping. You just don't do that. Don't do that. With your head cocked off to the side like that. Your little chain on. Come on, now you at your job. You clearly at your job. Burping. You hear just burping. Yeah, you hear the white people.
The black people next.
Black people.
When did they ever stop? What the fuck is y'all talking about? We were there for the Black Lives Matter movement. For real. And why is that one of y'all main arguments? Another one y'all like to say is Mexico helped y'all with slavery. What time is it? What year is it? Please. Salute to you.
Salute.
You know
all right.
I see y'all out there walking and shit, you know?
Okay. Okay.
And then what is this tension between the two
You had a lot to
communities?
say.
We're not tense at all.
We ain't tense.
We chilling though. You feel me? Chilling. Some of us at work, some of us watching TV, you know what I'm saying? Some of us watching y'all, you know? Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Big ups to y'all though, feel me? Straight
Yeah.
up. I ain't hating on you.
Yes, ma'am.
But you know, it is what it is though.
All right. I appreciate it. She had a lot to say without saying it. Let's move on to the next.
I have seen a video for white men talking about black people. You know they're coming for your next, right? You know you're not safe from ICE either. And what I want to say is,
you're gonna fight with the white man. The white man is saying we next, huh? Okay, go ahead.
First of all, you have no place to be telling. You have absolutely no place as a white man to be telling black people that. I feel like that is a form of insensitivity that white people just have rampant with them. Because what?
Good try. She's trying. It's a form of insensitivity. No, baby, it's racism. Just if you're gonna go there, go there. It's a form of racism, not insensitivity. Okay, it's not insensitive. All right, you tipping around it. You tip. You tipping on faux vogues, wrapped in faux. You tipping around that. Say it. If you're gonna say it, say it. I thought, look, now, okay, tell it like it is. I'm gonna let you finish.
Makes you feel comfortable enough to tell black people they're gonna be hunting them down next. and you feel okay in that. And this is a way of you trying to radicalize black people into fighting your battles for you, because
the white man is not trying to radicalize black people into fighting his battles for him. Okay, the Latinos and the African people who are being deported and the Asians, they're trying to radicalize black people, make black people afraid. It's not the white man. The white man is like, I'm not going anywhere. You know, that's. But go ahead, keep going, baby. Go ahead.
No, you do not have the ability. You do not have
I'm
the
gonna let you
strength.
finish.
You do not have whatever zeal it takes to be able to carry a movement and fight for your rights and fight for change. And so you're trying to radicalize black people into doing the fucking work for you. Y'all did not even fucking care about ICE going.
You need to watch your language. Don't be dropping F-bombs in here. It took me all day to get my broadcast last night monetized. Okay, don't be in here cussing. This is a family-friendly broadcast. Okay, ma'am? This is family-friendly. Somebody type family-friendly in the chat room. This is family-friendly. You will not drop F-bombs on the culture in here. You won't do that here. We are not doing that here. Okay? You got a nose ring. First of all, okay, you got the eyeball ring. Okay? You can get that caught on your shirt when you're pulling it up and rip your eyelid in half and be down at the damn 24-hour emergency care. And they overcharge you. You don't have anybody to blame but yourself. Okay? But you're going to watch that language up in here.
To whom till white people started getting affected by this shit. This here is a form of reverse psychology. Y'all are trying to force black people into action.
Now, see, she been listening to Brother Tariq Nasheed, and she trying to formulate the argument. I know what's going on. You like, man, I better get with these Akakas because they, you know, they've delineated. So I got to get on over here with these FBAs. You know what I'm saying? And so you trying to, I know what you're doing. That's good. It's a good start. It's a good start. You trying. Let's give her for trying. She trying to come on over here, but you ain't got your rhetoric down. Okay, you need to get your arguments together because right now you're just babbling. Right now you're just running off at the mouth. You just talking. You hopped on TikTok. Okay, you talking. All right, and I see you try to cover part of your forehead up like we wouldn't know it's you. We know it's you, baby. We know it's you, but I appreciate you. Hey, shout out to all the black immigrants who are finally coming around. We shouldn't have had to whoop y'all like we've been whooping y'all for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But it's by time y'all finally realizing which side of the butter or which side of the bread your butter is on. Now I can't guarantee you admission. Okay, y'all had VIP sections for like 50 years and y'all messed that up. I don't know, but I appreciate you trying. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let you get on up out of here because all this babbling is slowing down the broadcast. But I do appreciate the step forward. Shout out to all the Africans and the Caribbeans who are finally realizing why we've been dealing y'all that FBA ass whooping that you've been receiving. Okay, that we've been saying, no, you know what? Y'all going over there. Now you realize, I better hang out with these black people. They delineating you. I get you. Watch that Akata. Watch them names. Okay, and you'll be all right. Okay, we are forgiving and loving people most of the time. I can't guarantee. I got some people that's angry. They might not ever like you, but that's all right. That's all right. Y'all make us some jollof rice, and we'll sit down and talk about it. Stop trying to steal Essence Festival. Go ahead.
Hear me out. I want y'all to hear me out. So you remember people kept saying, but you guys, what are you going to do when you guys are next? When black people are next? Because after us, what are you going to do? Because they're going to be after you. So you are that unaware about what's been going on in the black.
Now, did y'all see the way she made her hands meet like that? Yeah, she can fight. She look cute, but she can fight. Her daddy taught her how to fight. You see that chin right there? The chin, she can fight. Yeah, I can tell. See how her eyes raised up like that? Yeah, you don't want to fight her. You don't want to, ladies, you don't want to fight her on the first day of school. I'm just let you know, she ain't the one to pick on. She gonna drop them bowls on you. But go ahead, let's keep going.
Community for centuries
Ooh.
that you think that we haven't been suppressed, oppressed. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, you got that crazy look in your eyes too. Ooh. Yeah, you can fight. I can see. You cute though. You cute lady, but you can fight. She ain't the one. Don't play with her. Straight pow. Right. I can see it. She probably got a good jab too. You look like you got that jab. But go ahead. Go ahead, baby.
That blows my mind. And you expect me to run to want to help?
Her knuckles turning white from gripping them so hard. She's strong too, heavy-handed. She heavy-handed. You ever had somebody comb your hair and they heavy-handed? You know how you start crying, especially when they hit the back and you know, popping them naps. I shouldn't say that. That's inappropriate. But y'all know what I'm talking about. She heavy-handed. Nah, I had a cousin like that. Her name's Letitia. And she's heavy-handed too, built low and strong. She hit you clean in your jaw. Boom! He folds you like a lawn chair. Yup. But anyway, okay, let's keep going. Memories.
Help you. Our babies been getting snatched up out our arms. Our houses been getting burnt up. Our fathers been getting killed. Our mothers been getting raped. We been getting charged.
Family friendly. Don't start laughing and saying crazy stuff and laughing.
Stuff we didn't do. Kids been getting snatched up and locked up for crimes they did not commit. So when you see me say I'm stepping back, this y'all fight, y'all got it, I sincerely mean it. I'm resting and I'm raising my children. That's what y'all did. And you still don't get it.
Yeah, not only can she fight, she done had some fights. She got some wins under her belt. She can fight. Y'all don't. Some people I can look at you and tell. I can tell. I can look at crazy. You crazy as hell. I can. I know. I look at crazy. I look at crazy like, yep. I lived in South Louisiana. Did y'all know that? I don't want to get off the broadcast, but I lived in South Louisiana for about how many? 8, 9 years. So I've looked at a lot of crazy black women. Stared them in their eyes just like this. And I'm like, yeah, you crazy. Shout out to all the women from South Louisiana. Shout out to all the women raised by women from South Louisiana. Okay? You know what I'm talking about. You know what your grandma from Louisiana, South Louisiana. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know just what I'm talking about. We ain't got to go there. All right, we don't need to disparage anybody, but we know the truth. We all know the truth about crazy. And most of the crazy comes from somewhere around I-10 between Mississippi and Texas, okay? And it gets concentrated around about Lafayette, Appaloosas, New Orleans, south of Baton Rouge. You know, once you get up to like, you know, Shreveport, Monroe, nice people, normal. Anywhere in South Louisiana. And the lighter they are, the crazier. I don't mess with light-skinned women. They're crazy. Matter of fact, 2 light-skinned people don't need to be together. Let me give y'all another little, I don't give relationship advice, but if you're light-skinned, brother, you don't need a light-skinned girlfriend. Get you a brown girl. Brown girls they get you a brown girl. Okay? Get you a nice brown girl and work. Don't get no light-skinned girl. And bad genes. You don't need that mixing in there. You know, light-skinned women are crazy. And look, I'm not going to give I need to get back to the broadcast. I'm going to get back to one day, I'm going to sit here and give y'all some good relationship advice. But it's not going to be today. Okay, let's go back to the broadcast. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, I got to get to the bottom of this.
What you say?
Who told y'all that black people are next after immigrants?
They did. They all told us that. That's what they told.
But that got to be the dumbest thing I've heard, bro. Like, who told y'all that? I've been hearing that so often, and I'm just sitting here like, who told you that? And what even made you believe?
They've been telling us that, brother. They've been telling us that. They trying
People
to
are
make
next
us.
after immigrants. So what's gonna happen to black people then? Like, if to that theory, what's going to happen? Like, what's new? Discriminating, stereotyping, racism. Bro, I've been hearing this so often. You just wait. Y'all are next. What are you talking
They
about?
trying to make us afraid.
Who told y'all that? Like, I literally be sitting there like, bro, am I tweaking? Because why? And it's always somebody that's not black saying it. Just wait. Y'all are next. And it's not going to be the white people. Y'all are next. Y'all are going to be targeted next. Targeted. Oh my gosh. Who told y'all that? I'm just trying to get down to the bottom of it because I feel like maybe I'm tweaking. Maybe I got to figure something
I'm gonna
out.
show you who
Maybe I
told us.
missed the step.
I'm gonna show you right now. This who told us.
The fields. And if immigrants are taking those
I want
during
y'all to
slavery
listen to
times,
what she's
who were the
saying.
ones who worked the fields? And if immigrants are taking those jobs, and now the immigrants aren't here to do those jobs, and now you can't get a higher education, who does he expect to go work the fields? So should you also...
She said once they get rid of the immigrants, they're gonna send all you black people back to the cotton fields. Ladies, you hear me? You're gonna have to put your acrylic nails up and tie your lace front in a bun and go out in the cotton. That's what she's saying. All the brothers, get your black behind out there and get you a sack. You're gonna be out there picking oranges and fruit. NBA. What? NBA contract? Oh, engineering degree. No, you gonna take your black behind out there, Jamal. Get on out there and pick some of those strawberries. That's what she's saying. She's saying we should be afraid because when they deport all the immigrants, there's gonna be nobody left to pick the white man's fruit. And of course, the white man must have his fruit picked. Oh my God, the white man has got to, if the white man say get your black butt out there and pick the fruit, you better do it because he's the white man. This is this woman's perspective of whiteness. Praise God. That is her white God or something like that. But go ahead, let's let her finish. I'm gonna let y'all hear it from the beginning. Somebody type pick cotton in the chat room, and all my people in the Carolina, chop tobacco. Okay, I get it. Pick cotton, chop tobacco. That's what they think. But let's go
during
ahead.
slavery times, who were the ones who worked the fields? And if immigrants are taking those jobs, and now the immigrants aren't here to do those jobs, and now you can't get a higher education, who does he expect to go work the fields? So should you also be worried and stand up for everything that's happening? Should the black and brown join forces?
First of all, ma'am,
shout out.
We have always been the
But the bottom line is, I'm just gonna say it like this: her black boyfriend failed. Okay, this is the black boyfriend effect. Whoever her black boyfriend was, he failed you. Okay, he failed you. I'm just letting you know. It didn't work. It ain't work. Maybe you didn't finish or something like that. I don't know what happened, but her re-education didn't work. You should have gone here. If you're gonna go all the way, she should have went and got your white girl because that didn't work out. Now, anyway, let's go ahead and get down to the nitty-gritty. We about to make it happen, Captain. You understand what I'm talking about? We about to get down. We're gonna learn something. And I done got warmed up. It take me a little while. I'm like a 78 Cadillac, man. You gotta let me sit in the driveway for a little while, get heated up. I come in dry, you know what I'm talking about. I gotta get up a little bit of this water in me. I've had a long day practicing law, talking to people about their checks and car accidents and insurance companies and who I'm gonna sue next and whatever, and what case is good and what case is bad. But so now I'm here with you all. I belong to you all. Now let's talk. Now, people, I want y'all to understand something, and I'm gonna go somewhere and somebody type ain't gonna happen in the chat room. Somebody type won't be deported. Okay. And the reason I say that it won't happen, and after I finish with this broadcast, I think you all will understand why it won't happen. Now, I'm going to talk about Black Wall Street. You guys have heard that. Tulsa, Red Summer 1919, Rosewood, Wilmington, East St. Louis, Elaine, Arkansas, Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, Newark, Watts, Miami, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Ferguson, LA in 1992. And the thing is, I'm bringing those up, and those you all might realize those are riots. Okay, those are uprisings, if you want to call it. So whenever Black people built wealth and independence or self, really that's the towns they burned down. Whenever we built wealth and independence, had some self-sufficiency in our community, white mobs moved to destroy them. You know that? When we talk about this, you know, when Black lives are taken and the law refused to respond, Black communities answer with uprisings and rebellion and fire. And these moments were not accidents or breakdowns in order. They were reactions to a system that only responds when its comfort is threatened. Okay, and they tell these stories rightly as examples of racial terror and state complicity and stolen opportunity. You know, like the bombing of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma is usually framed in this way. It's a tragic moment when Black success grew to visible, to independent, and then the white mobs came in and responded and bombed them. Shout out to Lions, then Danielle, and these thriving communities. And law enforcement either was complicit or just stood or joined in, you know, and that's what happened. It's true, and it must be said plainly. But I want you to do this. You know, they stop. You know, they don't tell you the whole story. Okay. See, if you stop there, it leaves the story complete, because Black Wall Street is almost always taught as pure victimhood. They bombed our town. And the framing quietly erases the larger American pattern that followed. When violence is inflicted on Black people and the system refuses justice, Black communities don't simply absorb it. We respond in ways this country understands. Sometimes it looks like organized resistance. Sometimes when pressure is ignored long enough, it looks like cities burning. And see, this section, I'm not celebrating destruction here. I'm just telling you Black folks your history. It's about name and reality. Whether we're talking about Tulsa to Newark, okay? Whether we're not talking about Detroit to Los Angeles, Black uprisings are not random chaos or moral failure. They are political responses formed by experience, proof that foundational Black Americans learned early in the United States. Power does not listen to pain or principle, but it does listen to disruption. Now I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Watts, California, Watts riots. Okay, we gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna be here for a minute, and we're gonna get to where we need to get. And you all are gonna have a great understanding when this is all over with. Now, the Watts riots didn't happen in a vacuum. They didn't happen simply because of a traffic stop. Because by 1965, Watts was the home of tens of thousands of Black families who had migrated to California during World War II as part of the Second Great Migration, which occurred roughly in 1940 to 1970. My own family, I think I got a picture. Let me show you. My own family migrated to, let me see. I think I do have a picture. Let me pull this up for you. My family migrated to, from Mississippi to the east side of Los Angeles, okay? And that's the house right there. You see what I mean? They moved there in 1958. We lived in this 2-story bedroom house, about 1,500 square feet, and a bunch of people was living there. The address is 1638 East 48th Street. It's between Compton Avenue and Long Beach Avenue. Matter of fact, I got a photograph that I put up sometimes. This is my family, and you all recognize. This is, let me see if I can pull this photograph up. So yeah, there we go, right there. So that's us. That's this very same porch right there. And you looking at it from the opposite direction, looking at, that's me right there with my little thumb in my mouth. And that's my cousins and my grandma right there with the wig on. That's my Aunt Geneva to the right. That's my Uncle Slim to the right. That's my Uncle Robert. I think he had just got back from Vietnam or something like that a couple years back. And these are the fellas, Uncle Slim and them family and friends. That's my cousin Chandra, the tall one with the pigtails. That's my other cousin Shalonda. And that's badass black ass Davion. My grandma used to babysit badass. I couldn't stand it. But anyway, that's personal. Me and him used to fight every day on the side of the house, always picking on me. But anyway, yeah, that's the house. That's the house right there. That would be the porch right there with that little tree in the front. That's where we took that photograph. But anyway, like I was saying, my family migrated from Mississippi to my grandma did, and she brought my Uncle Slim. He was a little boy, and my mama was 14. Uncle Slim was probably about I think 13 or something like that, 12 or 13 years old. But and these families like mine, they left Jim Crow, they left places like Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, and they were looking for better jobs and safety opportunity. Many were actively recruited to come to California, work at the shipyards and the factories during World War II, to work at the defense industries during the war, to help the war effort. You know what I'm saying? But they arrived and they discovered that LA was segregated also. All right. I mean, think about it. We don't really associate segregation. We don't really associate a segregation with the American, how should I say, with the North and the West. We only associate segregation with the American South. Okay, and I noticed that we do that, but that's not true, because we were definitely segregated in these other places. Okay, it was definitely that going on. I'm trying to find some things I want y'all to check out. I'm gonna put this in here so you guys can check it out. But black people moved. They moved. We picked up and moved everything. You see? And the thing is, the police didn't even leave us alone. All right, when we got to Los Angeles. And I'm laying the foundation so you can understand what the Watts riots was real, what they were really about. You had these invisible but rigid racial lines. You couldn't cross the neighborhoods. You weren't welcome. In jobs you were locked out of. The police who enforced these boundaries through harassment and intimidation. And the police didn't leave the communities alone. They would still come over there and over-police us. I remember they had my Uncle Slim out there on the porch with his underwear on outside. That was my first memory as a 4-year-old. You see what I mean? Somebody down the street said he did something, and LAPD came in and took him out the house and had him downstairs in the front yard on the sidewalk with his underwear on, with no shirt on, right? And he actually told his friend, saying, go in my house and get my pants, man. I like, damn. That was crazy. He couldn't have been any older than about 22 or 23. But it's important to understand this, that the black people were not new to Los Angeles in 1965. Black families had lived in the city in smaller numbers since the early 20th century. Okay, about 1910, LA had a black population of about 7,500 people. And by 1940, that number had rose to 63,000. Okay, so you had black institutions like churches, businesses, and social networks were already established. You had a place called Central Avenue, and I used to live over there near that. That's why I was showing y'all. It served as like a cultural economic hub long before the wartime migration. Before black people even came up there, it was already a popping place. And these earlier populations, they had already integrated into the city. You know, they had kind of adapted to the rhythms and expectations of LA. And what changed after World War II was the scale. All right. So during the 1940s and 1950s, you know, the defense industry jobs pulled hundreds of thousands of black folk west. Now, my uncle Carl, what's Carl's last name? Carl Smith was my grandmama's oldest son. And so he had got a job working in California. And of course, he sent for his mama. And she came out there with my mama and my Uncle Slim, who's the baby. And so that's kind of how it works. So that's my story. You understand me? And if somebody's bringing up Biddy Mason, yeah, that's right, baby. I think I might have talked about that before, intricately tangled. But anyway, so I'm saying, so here's what happened. Between 1940 and 1965, during the second migration, when my people came, it went from 63,700 to about 350,000 black people. Just so you understand, right now it's only about 400,000 black people living in Los Angeles, more or less, and that's 2026. Okay, so we had as many back then as we have now. And what that did was it went from 4% of the population to about 14%. And this massive influx overwhelmed the existing housing situation. Okay. All right. I told you it was segregated, right? You got all these black people living in the same place. I just told you about 8 of us living in a 1,500 square foot house. You understand what I'm saying? Can you imagine 8 people living in a 1,500 square foot house, and that's the whole neighborhood everywhere around you? You see? So the schools are overcrowded. And it transformed both the size and the character of the black community in ways the earlier generations hadn't experienced. Remember, these are sophisticated black folk. You understand? These are snooty black folk and all them country folk. Did you see my people? Let me put the picture of my people. Imagine if these people moved in next door to you. These people moved in next door to you. Damn. You a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist. Oh, and I was bad. I was bad as hell. I'm just going to tell you. So you got some badass kids. Excuse my language. You got some bad churn. You bad. And all y'all country folk from Mississippi coming out there and doing what country folk do. Folk getting arrested in front of the house with their drawers on. Oh, man, this is not why you went to UCLA. Okay, you moved out here to get away from these people. And oh, my God, right? And so, but here's the cold part about it. The black population grew. And segregation in LA, it became more rigid, not less. They're like, look, you know, what's a good name for old black person? Good look, Thomas, we like you, okay? But these new blacks, they are just, oh my God, we can't deal with them, so you're gonna have to go over there. And so the white people, even though they might have allowed some of the sophisticated black folk in, they did not want us country. They had, no. Get your black ass back on the other side of Central Avenue. We riding around in Cadillacs, man. 17 kids in the back of the Coupe de Ville. Come on, man. Them white folks like, no, and the black people was like, damn it. Darn it, we got away from them. We moved from South Carolina, burning their back. So that's what happened. So, but anyway, so the white folk, they basically, it hardened the race. Shout out to GCLA. So they hardened the racial lines, but they weren't painted on the ground. You know, it's not like Jim Crow South, black, white, color, whatever. But they enforced them through housing covenants, like, can't move here if you're black. The redlining, intimidation, they put the police out, you know, and everybody knew where they were. You know what I'm saying? So about the 1940s to the 1960s, black people were expected to stay south of downtown, especially along Central Avenue, okay, deeper in South LA and Watts, okay, and huge parts of the cities, West Side, okay, San Fernando Valley, beach cities, all that. You better not bring your black butt over there to Santa Monica. You better not, darn it. You better not. Martha, they're here. they're here. They're barbecuing on the doggone beach. They brought their watermelon and chicken. Darn it. Oh, man. But bottom line is that place, those things, they would cut off. They would just close off the black people. They would give you that Billy Club justice right then and there. And some of the brothers will tell, some of the old school cats will tell you that, man, that's why the gang started, because they had to defend themselves against the white folks and so on and so forth. But, you know, whatever, you know, I don't want to go off into all that right now. But anyway, you could live in LA, but you couldn't move freely through without risking trouble. So as a result, black life was concentrated. It was contained along Central Avenue. That became the heart of black LA. Okay. It ran south from downtown and it was lined with black-owned businesses, churches, clubs, hotels, especially between like 8th and 12th Avenue. Because, you know, as more families arrived after World War II, housing barriers and white resistance, it pushed black residents further and further south and east. And it packed people in the neighborhoods like Watts, California, South Central LA. And one of the most famous exceptions was Sugar Hill. This is West Adams Heights. This is where the black doctors and lawyers and the entertainers, they fought to live there, despite there was a lot of backlash. Like, y'all need to go over there too. You need to get on over there with your people, Tom. You see what I'm saying? And see, and the expectation was that you know, they had to prove how hard an exception that only proved how hard that line was everywhere else. They just had the black people who were successful in this one area. And so you didn't need a law. You didn't need a law telling you not to cross the line. And it was enforced by the police. You understand what I'm saying? Heavily enforced by the police. They question you, they search you, they harassed you. You all think ICE is bad. ICE ain't nothing. They just picked on you because of what you look like. You don't pull up in that Cadillac if you want to. You understand me? But the cops treated black mobility itself as suspicious. Anytime you was driving around, black nightlife spaces were especially targeted. You understand what I'm saying? They always targeted black nightlife space. On Central Avenue, police regularly harassed patrons and musicians and shut down integrated clubs under the excuse of morality or public order, or control was dressed up as law enforcement. Yeah. So so the other thing and warnings about certain places at night were real. So Southern California had neighborhoods that operated like sundown towns. And you thought that was only stuff that was in Texas and other parts of the South, but black people risked being chased out or arrested or worse after dark. Okay, and these weren't accidents. They weren't misunderstandings. They were understood boundaries and enforced through fear and repeated encounters with the police. People knew, what happens. So at the same time, there's this deep contradiction, okay? Because Central Avenue was a spot. So you have a lot of rich folk. It was rich with music. They had culture. It was talent. You understand? So white Hollywood, them white folk wanted to come down there and see what's going on. They always like to come see what we doing. No, you can't come over here. We need to stay separate. But then they managed to sneak themselves down there. White actors, white musicians, producers, they crossed into the black part of town to hear the music. And they found the performers and they soaked up all the scene. They just has a place called the Dunbar Hotel. And it became legendary as a meeting spot, man. I mean, it was known for hosting all the great black entertainers from all across the nation. And it drew a lot of white stars and a lot of industry figures. That's what was popping at. So Hollywood directors, they would even come down to Central Avenue. They recruit extras, and when white celebrities crossed into black spaces, it was treated as daring, it was exciting and glamorous, right? Oh, look at that. Marilyn Monroe has said they've come down there a lot. She had black boyfriends, somebody type black boyfriend. But and that contrast tells a story. LA had a black side of town that was geographically real, Central Avenue down to LA and Watts. And when black people crossed out, they were met with surveillance and harassment, okay? And when white people crossed in, it was treated like an adventure. And the boundary was never about crime. Safety was about control. You understand what I'm saying? Now, by the 1940s and the 1950s, up to 95% of LA and its housing, it was just shut off to black people. As big as LA is, it was shut off. And then here's what happened. White flight followed, and the black families were pushed into these tightly concentrated areas, like I said, Watts, Compton, South Central LA, and the police played a central role in maintaining those boundaries. Now, here's the other thing. I want y'all to understand something, okay? Somebody type bougie in the chat room. Somebody type bougie, because I know a lot of y'all bougie too. Y'all don't want me moving. Y'all wouldn't want me and my country family moving next door to you. Do you want this dude right here to be your neighbor? Hell no. That would have been me, right? That would have been me in 93. You don't want me next to you talking to your daughter, all right? I already know, okay? Y'all bougie, okay? And just like you, right, that rapid change, it created a lot of deep divisions within the black community, because these black people, they like, oh, hell no. So the middle class and the upper middle class, well, we're not gonna call them black people from LA. These are the black Angelinos, the black angels who had arrived way earlier, sometimes decades, sometimes almost like 50, 60 years. They had stable lives. They had anxiety. They were embarrassed. All these, can you imagine the conversation? These country ass niggas don't come up here and messed up every damn. Oh, country ass motherfucker, country ass. I know what they were saying. You know what y'all say. I know what I say now. I'm snooty now. Somebody type Uncle D is snooty. So they was embarrassed, all these country folk. They had got away from this, And so the common fear wasn't that these newcomers weren't incapable, but that white LA, white Los Angeles wouldn't distinguish them from all the black people, and they just lump them all together, okay? And they couldn't get they partial privilege anymore. They little, you know, they couldn't get that, you know. So and any problems associated with poverty or adjustment would be blamed on the entire race. I mean, they was probably on the bus cussing, motherfucker, man, you know, man, listen to the lady. I mean, they were cutting up out there, talking to the white girls. Yeah, man, you know out there, you know how it is. Y'all know what I'm saying. You know what y'all do when y'all get together. Don't lie. You know yourselves. You know country people loud. You up at the Venice Beach trying to relax, you know, and you're just chilling. And then next to some loud country dudes come in there. What you doing? And they pull out, they eating on the plane. I mean, you bringing fried chicken on the airplane, and here you are, the plane ain't even took off, and you done whipped out a bag, and you just eating your fried chicken, and you got a bottle of hot sauce with you. That's what you did. That's what you did. You did that. Embarrassing everybody. Okay? That's what you did. I know what you do. I watch you. You driving down the street. You got it's still in one hand, you drive, you got eating food in the other hand. It's just eating and driving. That's against the law. But that's what you do with your bonnet on your head. Probably got your shoes off too. You didn't put your good shoes on. You got them slippers on. The slippers gonna slip off. You're gonna run in the back of somebody. I know what you're doing. That's what they talk about. That's why them bougie black people didn't like you. They were into respectability and education and assimilation. Okay, and these were seen as survival strategies and the sudden visibility of all this black poverty. It felt like a threat on what they had going on. Y'all just went out there and messed up what they had going on. You understand what I'm saying? And in the meantime, you know, the hood is overcrowded. I got some videos, some very hilarious videos. I want y'all to check out what these snooty black people, you know, like y'all, all you snooty black people in here, this is for y'all. This is what y'all was saying about your poor black brothers who came up from down south. Listen to them. Hit the #1 button if you could hear it clearly. Hopefully I had to play. Go ahead. Let me see. Oh man, it's not even playing. That's terrible. Let me see if I can make it come in some other way. Hit wrong. All right, I'm gonna try to make it happen this way. Hit the #1 button if you guys can hear me clearly. I'm gonna try to get this to play. I'll do the best I can. Let's see. All right. Okay. Now, I'm gonna play it, but it might be a little small.
You would never be.
All right. Yeah, y'all check this out. All right, here we go. This is what you snooty people were doing and saying. Let me know if you can listen. It's gonna start playing. Hit the #1 button as soon as you can hear it.
You would never be able to have these conversations in public today. Wow.
Really not. With his hands who are not out in rightful business sociological, but they're used to living a certain way, and they too might rise up above their origin and might one day.
Can y'all hear that? Can you hear what she's saying? Let me know if you can hear what she's saying. Okay. Let me know if you can hear what she's saying. Okay.
They are associated.
The whole tone of this meeting is we're setting ourselves up as little puppet Jesuses. We can't.
Are you all able to hear? Can y'all hear what they're saying? You said that's better. Okay, I'm gonna turn the mic off so y'all can hear what they're saying. Go, I'm gonna let it play. Let me know if you can hear. Oh, did you hear what he said? He said, we are doctors and lawyers and dentists, and we have a second profession of being a Negro. And we don't want to identify with that second profession. We have our center to be better than that. I'm going to let you listen to the next one, man. hit the #1 button if you can hear me clearly. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and keep this for posterity. Let me get this together. Boom. Bam. Let that go ahead and make it happen. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be doing this. I got y'all all in my business. I got y'all all in my business. Let me close that out. Yeah, so that's the first video. I'm gonna let you guys hit. Somebody say they can't. I know you can. I know you can. I'm working on it right now. But in the meantime, let me see if I can let y'all hear this next video. This is another group of black folk complaining about unacculturated black people coming to the community. You understand? Messing up what they got going on. They were not feeling that in any way. Because remember, they had been there. They had white friends. You know, they were in industries. You know, they were a different kind of black. And then here these black folk come with their country selves. Oh, Lord, I done lost it all. Okay. And then what happens is you got these country blacks coming in with their country selves, messing up everything, making them look bad. And so they had a problem with that. I know it's free. I appreciate you. I certainly do appreciate that. Oh, shout out to 20. What is that? $20, man. That looked like a lot. I thought I was gonna be rich for a week, man. Good looking out, man. Let me see if I can get this up here for you guys to see. Doing the best I can. All right, let me see. I'm going on over here. Yeah. But good. Shout out to everybody who's contributed. But let me just get this up. I want you guys to see this so we can do our little play-by-play. And I think it'll come off well as soon as I get this worked out. Lord. Okay. Close that. All right. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna get it, but bottom line is you guys kind of get the point. You see what I'm saying? They were not feeling that whole situation. You had all these foreign, these unacculturated black people coming, and it kind of messed up what they had going on, and they were not feeling that. Let me see if I can let this play. Well, I'm gonna try one more time. You guys, if you can hear this clearly, if you can hear it clearly, I need you to hit the #1 button and let me know that you can hear it clearly. All right. So this is what they were saying. Should be playing. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I'll try to save it and put it up and post it up later. But the bottom line is you guys get the point. They were All right, I'm back, you guys. Thank you so much for your patience. I lost it for a minute. I guess I overloaded my systems here. But anyway, so basically, you know, you have the sophisticated black people who are upset. Make sure you hit the number 1 button if you can hear me clearly. You had the black people who had been there, they had jobs, they had careers, they had professions, and now they're having to deal with these new black people who just got here. So what I'm trying to do is help you guys understand. What I'm trying to do is kind of help you paint a picture. Your own people don't like you. The white folks got you cordoned off in the corner. Okay. All right. Let's keep in mind, right? So you can't really leave. The rich black people are clear across town. You really can't get there. It's not like we had cars and whatnot to get over there. You know, and when you go try to party and have a good time, money is tight, there's issues, and the police are harassing you. Okay. So you got poor schools. Some people like, man, we could have stayed down south of that. You understand? And so what do we do? So Jim Crow's still fresh on people's minds. You got to deal with police violence. Okay. That didn't feel new. And it felt more insulting because this is Southern California and where you had been promised something better. And so into that moment, you step the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, and Brother Malcolm X. Type Malcolm X in the chat room. Matter of fact, just type X in the chat room. And they gave language to what many black people were already feeling, that police were not neutral protectors, but simply an arm of a system that used to force to keep black people in their place. And so Malcolm X openly challenged the idea that black people had to accept abuse quietly. He argued that self-defense wasn't violence, it was common sense, especially when the state refused to protect black lives. And Elijah Muhammad in the Nation of Islam reinforced this idea by teaching discipline, self-respect, a right to defend black communities against police brutality. They didn't tell people to attack the police, but they made it clear that when being beaten and humiliated or killed without response wasn't a moral requirement. And that message mattered, okay? And it shaped how many black Americans viewed authority, not as something to automatically obey, but as something to question and resist when it became abusive. And of course, you had the heavyweight champion, the people's champ, Muhammad Ali. Somebody type Ali in the chat room. Now, here's the thing. By contrast, at the same time, we often hear about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he was advocating non-violent resistance, okay? Non-violent resistance, okay? But see, but non-violence was still resistance. It's not submission. It still meant confronting injustice publicly and refusing to accept or refusing to cooperate with oppression and forcing the system to expose its own brutality. In my position, nonviolence and resistance can't exist in the same. You can't have nonviolent resistance. That's an oxymoron to me. Either you're going to be nonviolent and not resist, or you're going to be you're going to be violent and resist. You understand what I'm saying? So it's an oxymoron. And when you read Dr. Martin Luther King's books, because most people haven't actually read what he wrote, he was not a pacifist. He was definitely into resistance. They just framed it as nonviolent. You understand? Marching thousands of people down the middle of a street where you know these people don't like you and you anticipate that they will hit you and you turn water hoses on you and dogs on you. That is clearly resistance. And that is not nonviolence. That is in actuality a occupying force, if you really look at it for what it is. And that's what they did. So this is who our people are, okay? So now in the black communities, these ideas didn't cancel each other out. They existed side by side. People understood peaceful protest, but they also understood self-defense. Both were tools depending on the situation. Vietnam made this even more volatile, okay? Because by the mid-1960s, you had black men who were being sent out, they've been drafted, they've been sent off to fight and die overseas for freedom, and many were coming home as Vietnam veterans trained in combat familiar with weapons and deeply aware of hypocrisy that they had been dealing with. And they had fought an enemy abroad only to return to home and be harassed and beaten and killed by the police. Okay, and that contradiction hardened attitudes fast, man. And so when the police rolled into neighborhoods like Watts with batons and helmets and guns, many of the people, especially the veterans, didn't see peace officers. They saw an occupying force. And that national mood collided with everyday life in Black neighborhoods where police encounters were already tense and often violent. And so when the police violence exploded in Watts, it didn't happen in a political vacuum. You see, people had been taught by experience, by history, by leaders like Brother Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad, you don't survive oppression by pretending it's not happening. And for a generation that had already seen war, self-defense didn't sound radical. It sounded realistic. And see, that's the climate when we talk about August 1965, when Marquette Fry, a 21-year-old Black man whose family had just migrated from Oklahoma when he was 13 during the second migration, he was pulled over in the heart of the hood by a white California high school highway patrol officer on suspicion of drinking and driving. The police pulled him over on Avalon Boulevard and 116th Street. You see what I'm saying? East Coast, right? And see, this wasn't a normal arrest. All right, it wasn't a misunderstanding. Black people in the neighborhood saw billy clubs, they saw blows, they saw blood, they saw escalation. Somebody typed escalation in the chat room. And see, that's why the temperature got hot. And I want you to keep in mind, this is August in Los Angeles. It was already hot outside. You understand? And I grew up in LA. It's 100 degrees in August, man. You see, it's already hot. We poll. The police is messing with us. You understand? Malcolm is in our mind. Elijah's in our mind. Ali talk about we the greatest. You see what I'm saying? And so what happened was the CHP and the LAPD officers, the cops, they stopped breaking out their batons and hitting Marquette Fry with their billy clubs. You see what I'm saying? One of them messed around. Apparently he was trying to hit him in the shoulder and hit him in the head, and blood came out. And so these people saw a 21-year-old Black man bleeding after being struck by the police. The rich Black folk ain't trying to help you. The rich white folk want you to stay over there. The only time they want to come is when they want to come mess around on Central Avenue, so you don't have an outlet. And they knock your brother down. So I'm saying then more police showed up. They didn't offer him medical treatment. They just handcuffed him and threw him in the back of a squad car. And the people saw with their own eyes, so the situation escalated fast. And so now, next thing you know, you got dozens of police cars swarming the area because their natural response is we're going to try to suppress. Instead of dispersing the crowd, guess what? One of these cops decided to pull out a shotgun. And all that did was reinforce the sense that police were treating the neighborhood like an enemy, like this was a combat zone in Vietnam or something like that. And we talk about country people, they used to guns, and we also talk about Vietnam veterans, so some of them half crazy anyway, probably high on that reefer, as they used to call it. And so they was about that life at that point. You see what I'm saying? You drop these men off in the war zone and you send them back to the hood. They don't have any outlets. They don't have any work. You see what I'm saying? And the only other option is maybe go back in the military and risk their life. Well, anyway, the other thing that really hit a nerve is they start mishandling women. The police were being mishandling the women. Some of the people say that his mama came, Marquette Fry's mama came out there to try to intervene, and you had cops manhandling her, and his brother came on the scene because he was close by his house. They tried to manhandle him, and then, oh Lord, they messed around, and the word got out that they had kicked the police had kicked the pregnant woman. You see what I'm saying? Now, we don't know all the details, right? But what matters is that the people believe what they were seeing in real time. That's what they believe. This is what they were hearing, okay? And that pushed them to anger, and it escalated. So, you got family members trying to intervene. You got his mom and his brother hit by batons, pregnant women going down. We already mad. It's hot. And so what began at a single section spread outward into the surrounding neighborhoods. And what happened after that was chaos, man. 6 days, thousands of people concentrated in a small area surrounding Watts, California. They clashed with the police. They fought with the police. Then they thought they were going to send the National Guard in. I told y'all they got Vietnam veterans. We got Marines, Rangers. They sent the National Guard in. They fought with the National Guard. They burned down buildings. They looted stores. They fought with the police in the middle of the street. They built makeshift defenses. This 6 days, man. 6 days. You understand me? Of straight up mayhem and chaos. And see, some people look back and they say these people were they were lawless. These people were lawless. They were doing it for a thrill. No, they weren't doing it for a thrill. This was frustration. These were black people who had been promised a new life. They were invited to the West Coast to work, to help on the war, to help with the war effort, to build America. And they had fought in wars. And then once they got there, they were packed into the smallest section of the city, locked away from opportunity, harassed by the police, treated like they were a problem instead of citizens by both the elite blacks and the whites. And they had been dealing with it for years, and they were tired. And so when the pressure finally broke, the response was intense. Police came back with batons and helmets and shotguns and tear gas and more cannons. Officers fired into crowds, man. They fired live rounds in the crowd. Black people fired back, though. You busting, we busting. This is LA, man. This is Watts. Again, the police acted like it was a war zone. Man, look. 34 people died. More than 1,000 people injured. And it cost $40 million in property damage, 6 days. I want you to understand something. $40 million back then is not $40 million today. That's the NBA contract. That's the NFL contract. $40 million back then was about $410 million. That's like damn near $500 million. You understand me? I want you to put it. Look, man, $500 million. I mean, we could have bought Mexico again back then for that amount. You understand? You had entire commercial blocks burned out, small businesses destroyed, homes, apartments. The National Guard occupied the area. Watts shattered LA's image, though. See all that carefree paradise, sun, movies, glamour, Hollywood. All across the country, they said, oh, Lord. They saw Hollywood burning. They saw armored vehicles on TV. LA was no longer just a dreamland. It was exposed as a city with a deep racial fault and a powder keg beneath the surface. None of this would have happened if the black residents had been left alone. If they had been protected and treated with basic dignity. We wasn't asking for much. And Watts' rise, they weren't about looting for destruction of pleasure. They were the result of decades of over-policing, mistreatment, discrimination, and a justice system that refused to protect black lives. And when a community is denied lawful remedies long enough, especially the black American community, because nobody's entitled to dignity more to us than we are. But enough is enough. See, resistance, sometimes violent resistance, becomes the language of people that they use when all the other doors are closed. Now you understand? And that was over one man. That was over one 20-year-old country boy black man from Oklahoma who ended up in LA. We caused $410 million worth of damage for one black man that most of them people didn't know. Now, what do you think is going to happen if they try to deport 45 million black people from the United States of America? What do you think is going to happen? Oh, black people are next? Okay. No. But anyway, I'm going to table that and we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, I'm going to table that conversation, and we're going to move on to the next one. They tried to do one dirty, and it cost $410 million of damage. But we'll table that, and we'll move on to the next one. We'll table that conversation, and we'll move on to Newark, the Newark riots in New Jersey, 1967. Well, my people from the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, you probably heard about that. It was a long, hot summer. It was July on the East Coast. Another American said Newark mattered because it happened in the North, in an industrial city, filled with black families who had done the same, migrated from the South, believing they were escaping Jim Crow, and instead they found the same thing the people in Watts found: segregated housing, blocked job access, brutal policing, political power, still locked in white hands. Newark destroyed the myth that racism was a Southern problem. And it happened when a black cab driver named John Smith, the police dragged him out, they beat him and dragged him into the police precinct. And so the people who saw it, they saw him bloody, they saw rumors spread that he'd been killed in custody, and rumors that spread quickly because the police violence was routine out there. And so when the residents gathered and they demanded answers, they were met with force. Again, we have questions about this injustice, and you want to push back. You want to beat us up. And guess what happened? 5 days of intense chaos, of fighting. They sent the state troopers in. They sent the National Guard in. They flooded the black neighborhoods. They had armored cars rolling through the residential communities. Buildings were burned up, stores were looted, the residents fought back. At least 26 people, most of them black people, were killed, hundreds were injured. Large sections of town were destroyed. Some of these, and I want y'all to understand that, some of these places have never recovered. It's been almost 60 years. You understand? It crippled the neighborhood for decades. Newark was a major black town back in 67, but the power remained overwhelmingly in the white people's hands. And so the police were viewed not as protectors, but as occupying force, coming just years after Brother Malcolm's assassination. You understand? And see, people didn't have patience like they did. You see? They didn't think patience would bring justice. So Newark confirmed what Watts had already shown. Unrest was spreading, not fading, but by the time King came along, 1968, the country was already soaked in gasoline. Again, we talking about one brother, one 21-year-old black man from Oklahoma who moved to California with his family. One black man named John Smith, a taxi driver. All that mattered was that he was ours. He was one of us. That's all that needed to be said. Now, I'm going to talk to you all about something that I know you have not ever heard. I'm going to talk to you about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We know he was assassinated on April 4th, 1968 at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. You all are very familiar with that, right? People always talk about the assassination of Dr. King, but they almost never talk about what happened after. And the silence, it's not accidental. See, the schools don't teach that, because if people truly understood the size and seriousness of what followed, a lot of today's this tough talk, it'll fall apart. You know, I hear these white TikTok dudes talking about, yeah, you don't want to go to war with us. We're built for war. I hear them, all this tough talk, you know, people like Andrew Tate talking about what black people don't have or what black people can't do and can't organize, right? You hear all that, right? Making you feel bad. And these young folk fall for it because they don't know. And they don't have people like me who will sit them down and say, look, man, let me tell you something, man. Let me explain to you who you are. You see what I'm saying? Let me tell you about your people. And it's unspoken. It don't need to be said. We don't need to talk about it. We about it. You understand what I'm saying? But again, Y'all sit back and I'm gonna take you on the journey. I'm gonna explain something to you. Somebody type Uncle D explaining in the chat room. Look, when black people are pushed far, black America has already shown it can shut down the system nationwide. And see, this isn't ignorance, it's memory being buried on purpose. See, here's the thing y'all know. After Dr. King was killed, he was a man of peace, right? Non-violent black man. The United States immediately entered into an emergency. It was unlike anything since the Civil War. Okay? I want you to understand that. It was unlike anything since the Civil War. Because see, within hours, the black community across the country, not in one city, not in one region, 100 cities. 100 cities broke out in chaos at the same time. 100 cities around America. Businesses were destroyed. Streets were blocked off. The National Guard units were overwhelmed. I mean, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Chicago, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Louisville. 100 cities saw unrest at the same time. And it wasn't random violence. It was nationwide. The minute King got shot, they wasn't trying to wait to hear for no investigation. They didn't want to, it wasn't waiting for the evidence to come in. None of that. We talking 1968. The black population in the United States was 22 million. We was poor. Because remember, in 1965, 60% of us lived below the poverty line. We probably ain't had cars. We didn't have all that. We were 11 to 12% of the population. In this community, we had just gone through the second migration. We just dispersed, went all throughout the country looking for a better life. You got millions of black people packed into these cities, already dealing with low wages, segregation, aggressive policing. And when King got shot and killed, the response followed. It wasn't symbolic. It wasn't even emotional alone. It was straight up physical. It was widespread and it was real. The financial damage was massive. And at the time, the estimates put the losses at hundreds of millions of dollars in 1968. Now, at $40 million, that one city in Watts, that was 410 million. Imagine hundreds of millions of dollars. And if you adjust that for inflation, you talking billions of dollars. Billions. And see, the King assassination riots add up. It's just an astronomical number. Look, in Washington, D.C. alone, they suffered $27 million in damage. You understand? That's $300-some million. And some of the neighborhoods still never fully recovered. Just so I can put this in perspective, family, 100 cities took off. You only had about 200 major cities with downtowns in the United States at all. You only had 200 cities, and 100 of them took off. And keep this in mind. The major cities have the downtowns, they have the business centers, they have the ports, they have the factories, they have the rail hubs, they have the government buildings. What happens when 100 cities get shut down in the country? When the cities erupt at the same time, what that means is half the country's urban center is unstable all at once. Ain't no money being made. There's no food coming in. The businesses shut down, the utilities shut down. There's no guidebook for handling that. The police forces they're local, they're overwhelmed. The National Guard units belong to the states. The Army is trained for war, not for controlling American cities. You asking soldiers trained for combat to suddenly police civilians in their own neighborhoods. And to put it simply, there was no clear front line. There was nowhere you could block things off. This wasn't East versus West or North versus South. This was everywhere at the same time. And the people, the government was trying to control were all around, close enough to grab you from any direction. And this is why the speed of the reaction matters so much And to really understand the scale, you got to stop and think about what 100 cities actually means. In 1968, there's no cell phones. We had them little dial-up phones if we had one at all. You didn't have any group messages. You know, viral videos. And yet within hours of King's death, Black people across the country reacted almost simultaneously. News spread through telephone, radio, churches, barbershop, family, network, neighborhoods. And you would think the response was planned, but it wasn't. It was just a shared understanding. Somebody type, "I'm resting" in the chat room. Somebody type, "We're resting" in the chat room. It was a shared understanding. Black people didn't need instructions. They already understood what the assignment was. King's death was represented by us in the form of chaos that lasted several days. It was the worst violence that happened ever in this country between April 4th and April 8th. Look, man, cities burned. Let me break the numbers. They're quick to tell you, 6,000 National Guard troops were deployed. And then they said tens of thousands of Army soldiers were deployed. And when you really add that up and you add on the cops to it, you talking about 250,000. It was about 250,000 cops, National Guard, and local police nationwide. You understand me? To go try to stop, it took them 4 days. They had to go try to get control of these American cities, a domestic deployment. Now, I want you to understand that at the peak size, the U.S. presence in Iraq was about 170,000. And we had about 250,000 men on the ground here in the United States to try to control it. You understand me? To control 22 million people. Do y'all understand that? Businesses shut down, transportation slowed, downtown businesses, districts, economic center hit hard, hundreds of cities burned. The country didn't just suffer, it stopped working. And see, that's not a riot, that's nationwide chaos. And the president, you don't know how to fix this. You rushing troops into the city, you don't even know if it can calm down. It was Lyndon B. Johnson, he was a president at the time, and he immediately treated the unrest as a national emergency, not a crime wave. He ordered the rapid deployment of the National Guard units and the federal troops. It included the U.S. Army. He had to take Washington, D.C. back. It was viewed as symbolically and strategically critical. President Johnson believed that if the United States Capitol collapsed, that the legitimacy of the federal government itself was in danger. This man thought, damn, I'm about to lose the country. He was shook. His aides reported later on in different texts and history books, the man feared that the country was about to fall apart at the seams. This is what our people did. Shout out, somebody type FBA in the chat room. This is us. Because one man was killed, Dr. King's death. But see, here's the thing. He understood that this wasn't just about King's death. He understood this was because of years of unresolved racial injustice, and it collided all at once. So President Johnson, he told his aides, he said the nation was facing the worst crisis since the Civil War, man. And I mean, can you imagine you wake up, God damn, this was going on? He literally worried that the violence would continue and spiral beyond the government's ability to control it. And at the same time, he was angry. He was angry at white people. I'm talking about racist ass, my second favorite racist president of the United States, LBJ. He was angry with white people because of they had resisted civil rights reforms. And he was heartbroken that King, who had pushed for nonviolence, had been killed anyway. And in public, Johnson, he condemned the violence. I mean, he had to, it was wrong. All that nonviolence was all, yeah. but he understood the root cause. So behind closed doors, he said, I understand why these people are turning up like that. And guess what happened afterwards? It was after that he pushed Congress to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1968. You know that redlining thing we've been dealing with? They got us all pushed in the ghetto. And we don't want to deal. We just push them together. So the minute we start burning the city down, now you get rid of redlining. Now you give us the Civil Rights Act of 1968, the Fair Housing Act, as a response of us turning up. You understand what I'm saying? Are you all starting to see how America has worked in the past? So the minute we cut up and act a fool, all the time we, being nice and cooperative and nonviolent resistance, we getting beat up by the police. But the minute we turn up and burn down 100 cities at the same time and have everybody scared to death, that's when we get the Civil Rights Act gets pushed. You understand? Because see, the president Johnson's view was restoring order without addressing this particular injustice. It's only going to delay the next explosion. And so that's why he did it. We got to get all these black people out the ghetto. We got to let them disperse because this is too much. So, Johnson didn't see this explosion of chaos as random and lawlessness. He saw it as a warning. He sent the troops out to save the country from collapsing. But at the same time, he pushed for civil rights legislation because this was a crisis of national stability and legitimacy. I mean, the country was about to go up in flames. Did they teach y'all this? Is this something they taught y'all, that this is what your people did? This is what your granddaddy and grandma was doing out there, your uncles and them? This is what your uncles was doing. And can you imagine being a governor in this situation? Here you are. You don't know where the next fire is going to start. It could be your house. You don't know if the police can handle it. You don't know if the guard units can handle it, or they're just going to make it worse. And ain't no help coming. So you out here trying to set curfews and shut down roads. You close businesses and you hope the unrest burns out. Okay? Before it turns to something you can't stop. Now, I need you to understand something. What was the average white person going? What was going through their mind at this particular time? Are y'all with me? Can you imagine? 100 cities. What if you turn on your little TikTok right now, you start scrolling and you see all the cities in America burning at the same time that you care about? Can you imagine that? You'll be like, holy shoot. Now imagine it's racial and you white, you the ordinary white person, you watching this at home and and the shock was immediate. You turn on your TV, you see city after city on fire. Washington, D.C. is burning. Baltimore is burning, Chicago is burning, Louisville, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Newark, Detroit, New York, LA, Oakland, Frisco, Seattle. Everything is burning. Houston, Dallas. You know you're not going to work tomorrow. You don't know if the stores are open. You don't know if soldiers will be there by nightfall. The economy is going to slow down. The supplies are going to stop coming. The downtown shut down. The country doesn't just feel unrest, it freezes. You see, in 1968, I need you to understand, let me lay the foundation for you. See, in 1968, this is before all the mass white flight to the suburbs was complete. See, white people still live downtown. They still full of white people. You got business districts, they were still active. And this wasn't happening somewhere else. This was happening right where the white people live. Cities like Baltimore was 45 to 50% white. Can you imagine that? Chicago was 65 to 70% white. Detroit was 55 to 60% white. Newark was 45 to 50% white. All these black towns. Can you imagine Detroit being 60% white? Cincinnati, Ohio was 70 to 75% white. Kansas City was 75 to 80% white. Louisville was 75 to 80% white. And this is where the burning was happening. These weren't empty cities or commuter towns. So these were not black cities burning while white people watched from the suburbs. White people were still living in those cities. Downtowns were still white businesses and districts and still white owned, and police and politicians and property owners, mostly white. And so that meant the unrest wasn't happening somewhere else. It was happening where white Americans live and worked and shopped and governed and depended on daily access. And when the streets shut down, when the fire spread, when the troops rolled in, when the white residents were inside those cities watching safely, not watching safely from a distance. They were in it. And here's the part people don't like to imagine. Imagine if you're a white person living in D.C. in 1968. There's no safe buffer zone. You surrounded by angry blacks, and we've killed their leader. I mean, the city of D.C., what they call D.C. don't stand for no, what do they call it? Chocolate City. I mean, it was majority black, but you still had tens of thousands of white folks still live near downtown and in these mixed neighborhoods. And so when the chaos broke out, you didn't get to watch it on TV from the suburbs. You were sitting in your house, okay, and streets were on fire and blocks were on fire. And you don't know if your business is on fire. And the police were stretched thin and soldiers were moving through the city and you weren't calling for help. No help was coming. The police weren't there to protect your average white self. You hear me? They wasn't there to protect regular white people walking around. They were busy trying to save downtown. They had to focus on the elites. They had to guard the banks. They had to guard the rich white people's property. Forget you poors. They weren't worried about you poor people. They had to try to keep the whole city from collapsing. That was the priority. They weren't stopping each white folk from getting beat up. They weren't escorting civilians safely through the streets. If you got caught outside, something happened to you. That was on you. You see? And it wasn't just men. It wasn't just black men. It was black women. It was old men, old women, angry kids, grieving. This is King. We love King. They hated King. We love King. And he was a man of peace. And again, this wasn't about random crime. This is about rage. This is about rage spilling over in the public space. And the message on the street was simple: stay inside or take your chances. That's the part they don't like to say out loud. Because see, when hundreds of cities were on fire, the police didn't have control. They were overwhelmed. Soldiers were being rushed in. Curfews were being declared. And ordinary people, especially white people living in these cities, the safest move was to lock your door, turn off the lights, and wait on tomorrow. And here's what I'm gonna try to explain to y'all. Here's what that meant on the ground. That meant you stayed your pasty white behind in the house. If you were white and you didn't step outside, you wasn't going outside to see what's going on. You didn't check the block. You didn't peek around the corner. You could get hit in the head with a brick. You could get swept into a crowd that didn't care who you were or why you were there. And the air was thick with smoke. The glass covered the streets. Fires burned in the distance and you could smell it everywhere, man. You see, and patience was in short supply. The Bloods was mad. The sisters was mad. This wasn't rumor. This wasn't exaggeration. This was real physical danger, and everybody knew it. Remember, they had watched their ancestors get hosed by folk down in Mississippi and Alabama. This is what they did. Now, this is Detroit, baby. This is Chicago. Y'all killed King. We ain't them. We are not our ancestors. I mean, there was real physical danger and everybody knew it. And that's what it meant when 100 cities were burning. Not a headline, not a metaphor, but something close enough that opening your front door could get you hurt. And if a random black person crossed your path, you better hope it was your black friend. You white folks always say you got a black friend. You better hope it was your black friend. Because see, what you need to understand is that in moments of chaos, especially race-related chaos, police protection collapses. I done seen it firsthand. Safety doesn't come from institutions. It comes from relationships and recognition, being known, claimed, or vouched for by someone inside the community. That mattered more than race on paper. Hell, even during the Haitian Revolution, I talked about that. That was one of the bloodiest slave uprisings in history. You had, it was many Europeans that were spared, even though it was a black and white thing. Especially those who were known, who were protected or viewed as allies by the local black population. I want you to keep in mind, after the war was over, after Haiti declared independence in January 1884, Jean-Jacques Dessalines ordered the massacre of the remaining French colonies. That was between 3,000 to 5,000. That for 4 months they was roving the islands, and they didn't do it pretty, family. It wasn't pretty. Okay, they wasn't using bullets. They men, women, children. I mean, we talking about, it was ugly. We talking machetes, we talking knives. But they still spared some white folk. They spared the Polish soldiers who had defected to the Haitian side. They spared the Germans who didn't participate in the slave system. You see, again, they always talk about Rosewood. We always talk about Tulsa. You understand what I'm saying? They bomb our towns, we burn their towns down. See, in calm times, race is ideological. In crisis, it becomes practical and immediate. People don't care about political beliefs and allyship and slogans or intentions. They care about who you were connected to and whether someone would stand up for you. In that moment, nobody was stopping to check resumes and verify relationship. You stayed inside, and you stayed quiet, and you waited it out. Now, in modern times, that would be the equivalent of you having a black boyfriend. Go get your black boyfriend. He'll keep you safe, right? You get your black boyfriend. Maybe you got a black baby daddy. You good all the way because, you black by injection. You got a black baby daddy. You got to be black. You pop one out. I mean, that's what white people believe, right? You got a black husband, a black child, and black friends. You think you got moral cover. You can cultural immunity or protection. See, you without actually sharing the risk or history of being black. And see, that's why you hear so many of these white women out here, they use the N-word freely with the hard ER. And then when you try to check them on it, they like, oh, my husband's black. I can't be racist. Same white men do the same thing, but I don't want to get off into that. But here's the thing. In moments of legal or real danger, chaos, protection doesn't come from claims. It comes from action. And I want y'all to look at that Rosewood massacre. That little what happened in Rosewood, it was a predominantly black town. It was in Levi County on Florida's Gulf Coast. It was near the town of Sumner. It happened in January 1923. It wasn't the law that stopped the violence from spreading. It was the white neighbors who stood in the road and blocked the mob of racist white men who had just ravaged Rosewood. And they said they were trying to go to the next town. And they said, plain, no, these are our neighbors. These are blacks. They're good. You ain't coming over here. So it was white men that stopped that. And they meant it. They was going to shoot them down in the street. And see, that's a very American thing. Relationships, friendships that transcend racial barriers and animosity, where people stand up for one another when it actually costs something, not slogans, not proximity, and not performative connections. Real protection comes from real relationships. And that's something y'all should think about. You see? Because not only are we going to stop, there ain't nobody going to deport us. You got white folk be like, nah, that ain't going to happen because I got some friends that's white. And see, I try to talk about this. Black people and white people in America, we have a special relationship. That don't mean we always get along, but we have an understanding. You understand? We fought alongside each other. We fought wars together. You understand what I'm saying? So it's different. Now, another interesting thing, and then we're gonna move on to the next stuff. Y'all still with me? Hit the number 1 button, man. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. We are 2 hours in. Are y'all learning something? Did you learn something today? Can you imagine 200 cities? But hey, I need 33 people to subscribe to the channel so I can be at 92,500. If I get 33 more people to subscribe to the channel, I will be at 92,500. I need y'all to get me there. I need you all to get me there immediately. I want to see these subscriptions go up. We need 20 more people, and let's celebrate this together to get me to 92,500. I need 20 people to subscribe. We just got 13 that quick. All right, I need 18 more people to subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and carry forward while you guys subscribe to the channel because I don't want to hold you up. Okay, my God, it's moving along. I need 17 people. So instead of 18, I need 17. And of course, if you've learned something, I'd appreciate it if you show me because I should earn something. Now I want to move on and I want to continue. You guys do what you got to do, your job. Help me out. I'm going to do my job. Now, again, I want to tell you a little story during the King riots. Okay, during the King chaos, the 100 cities, somebody type 100 cities. You'll never forget this lesson. 100 cities. And see, and I hate to keep going off the subject, man, but you know how we always talk about COINTELPRO and how dangerous America perceived black people. It's because they don't teach you what we did. We burned up 100 cities. You see why they said we got to get rid of these black. We got to do something. We got to get them under control. Oh my God, we got to separate them. We got to undermine their leadership. Now you starting to understand why. You see what I'm saying? Now you start to understand why we are perceived as such a threat and why the rise of a black messiah seemed to be the focal point of the United States government and COINTELPRO and et cetera, et cetera. You see what I mean? Because they don't teach you history. You all casual know, King got shot, but they don't tell you about them 100 cities, man. Everything, they thought the country was going to collapse, man. You can't get nothing. You got 200 cities and you got 100 cities on fire. Not one, 100. And it's not like you got 1,000 cities. You only got 200. And these are major industrial areas. These are the heart of the cities, man. You can't do nothing. You can't fly planes. You can't get gas nowhere. No money's been made. It's shut down, man. But amidst all that, man, after King was assassinated April 4th, 1968, there's an interesting incident that happened in Boston. The godfather of soul, James Brown, he was set to play a concert in Boston. You understand? The Boston Garden. And, it was the day of the King's assassination, and it was broadcast live. I think it was on April 5th, 1968 or something. I think that's how it went. But I think they were saying, hey, let's call this off. And he said, no, I'm going to go. And so in hopes of keeping the crowds off the street and preventing riots in Boston, where the tensions were very high, the mayor, his name was Kevin White, and other local leaders decided not to cancel the show, and instead they televised it citywide. And so instead of being out and about rioting and being and causing chaos, people stayed in the house and they watched James Brown. Yeah, the Godfather, and that kept people at home, and the streets were calmer than they might have been. And so James Brown performed, and he appeared on television urging peace and unity at a moment when the other cities were erupting. And this is how, his show is widely credited with helping Boston avoid that chaos that night. Okay? I need y'all to understand that. You see, shout out to B. Hunter. And again, that's also a uniquely American thing. So that's an interesting story. You all can look that up. But anyway, the thing you have to understand is the lesson that white America learned in 1968 when we burned down 100 cities is that this wasn't about one city or one leader. Black America was connected some kind of way. You black people were on the same page. We don't know if y'all had a meeting. We don't see the notes. It's the same thing with y'all resting right now. They didn't anticipate that. Okay. What are you doing? How y'all communicating like that? Okay. They realized it was paying attention. And when pushed too far, it could shut the entire country down without a cell phone, without planning, without warning. Not because people wanted chaos, but because we believed that the system had completely failed us. And here's the most important part. Black people didn't all agree with Dr. King, man. Some of us thought he was too patient. They call him a troublemaker. King was one of the most hated people in America on the day he died, according to the polls. You understand? But he was one of ours, though. He was ours. And see, here's what you got to understand. King was known all across the world as a man of peace. And so the damage didn't stop when the fires went out and when the people went home. Internationally, the United States took a massive L as far as reputational. I mean, images of 100 cities burning, you canceling that trip. You ain't, we're going to pass. No, we're going to stay in London. We're not going to, no, we won't be going across the pond. We're going to stay home. You got images of American cities burning to the tune of 100 at one time. Can you imagine being overseas and looking at 100 cities are burning in America? You got soldiers on the streets of America everywhere, 250, that's an occupying force. National Guard got bayonets pointed at civilians. All this circled the globe. It undercutted every Cold War claim about freedom and democracy and moral leadership. Hell, the Allies questions our stability. Our adversaries use it as footage, as propaganda, and they still use it. And at home, the monetary losses were staggering. Billions of dollars in today's dollars destroyed property and insurance claims and shuttered businesses and commercial districts that never fully recovered. You had entire neighborhoods lost, grocery stores, pharmacies, banks, jobs. It accelerated economic collapse and lasted for generations. And here's the other thing. The white folk got their ass out of there. Excuse my language. Them white folks said, never again. They got out of there. This is what they don't tell you with a white flight. It's not that they just didn't want to live next to black people. You understand? They had to get out of there. That scared the heebie-jeebies out of white people. Can you imagine? I described what was going on. Can you imagine that? You got a 38 special and a World War II a rifle, okay, with 6 shots in it, and you got 100 N-words outside, mad. You had to get out of there. That's when the white flight surge happened. That's what they don't tell you that, right? They never, white people we moved into the community. No, they moved out when they got the light, they scared. Look at the work. Look at the patterns. Look at the moving pattern. That's what happened. They got up out of there. You understand? And it hollowed out the tax bases. It locking in segregation for decades, and the American cities began to die. You understand me? That's what happened because they didn't want to treat us fair. They still haven't fully recovered. They still trying to re-gentrify. They don't know we'll burn them cities down again if they do something. Oh my God, the Starbucks is burning. The blacks are at it again. I knew I shouldn't move here. My God, yeah. White friend. You understand? Your little black friend is out there kicking over the Starbucks latte machine. Damn it. You understand what I mean? But yeah, we won't. You might want to get, mind you, nobody told us to do it. Now, I wanted to talk to you all about, y'all still with me? Hit the number 1 button, man. Let me know you still with me. Hit the number 1 button. Let me know you still with me. Let me know you still with me. Are you all learning something? Did you learn something tonight you didn't know? You've heard this before, but you didn't know about it. You can probably give an excellent course on it. I need 6 more people to hit the subscribe button. and I will have 92,500. We are then only 7,500 people away from reaching the goal of 100,000. Shout out to Queen Nurse. Thank you, baby. I need 6 people to subscribe to the channel. We have nearly 1,000 people in this chat room, 800. I need 4 people to subscribe. I need 4 people to subscribe, and we will be at 92,500. Doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Please subscribe now. Oh, there we go. We got 9. Look at that. We did that. Y'all did that. Y'all did that, boy. We got it. We hit the number. We got 92,500 people. That is amazing. Shout out to you all. Let me see. I don't want y'all to see my little money. Look at that. Y'all can't really see. But there you go. We got it. All right. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Thank you. +4. Okay, so all right. We on the other side now, y'all. We're gonna land this plane. I want to take you all on the story. I'm gonna tell you something. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you guys about something very, I know these things up personally. I told my wife maybe about a month or 2 ago, I said, baby, I've lived the life of 10 men. Uncle D has lived the life of 10 men. If I die tomorrow, don't nobody cry for me. You understand me? I've lived the life of 10 men. I've seen it all. I've enjoyed life. I've had a wonderful and beautiful life. I've had so many enriching experiences. Of course, I don't plan on going anywhere. I'm gonna keep talking to y'all until y'all get rid of me. But I've really seen a lot, and so I'm gonna share some things with you. Some things that have never been heard before. I'm gonna, so you guys will truly understand why I'm so passionate and why I truly know what I know. Okay, because see, I'm not talking to you as an academic. I'm not like a lot of the people on the internet. They read to learn. I've experienced many of these things, and I may not go into too much detail, but the things I talk about are from experience. Now, Rodney King. You guys ever heard of Rodney King? You guys old enough? The 1992 riots. You might have heard of the riots. And again, we're talking about, how they're gonna deport us. We're next, right? Somebody type next, right? We're next, right? I'm like, okay, yeah. You don't know my people, but Rodney King is a regular brother. He's a black man from greater LA, and on the night of March 3rd, 1991, I would have been what was that? March? I would have been 16. I'd have been 16 years old. I'd have been 16 years old. I'd have been 11th grade in high school at the time. But anyway, after this high speed chase on the 210 and 218 freeways, you stopped by some cops, in LA cops, LAPD, near the intersection of Foothill Boulevard and Osborne in Lakeview Terrace, which is not even in the hood. Okay. But what happened next changed the country. Okay. And before all this, Rodney King, he was not a national figure. He wasn't a politician. And for y'all, you smart ass people, and he was not related to Martin Luther King. Okay. I'm just saying Rodney King was just a regular king. Okay. But anyway, he wasn't a celebrity. He was relatively unknown, just regular brother living in LA in the 90s. His family had moved from Sacramento to Altadena, California. He attended John Muir High School, not to be confused with John Muir Junior High School, and during his youth. And as an adult, he worked construction, and he struggled with alcohol. He drank a little too much, threw a few too many back. He wasn't out in the world, like that before 91. And anyway, on March 3rd, 1991, he was pulled over after a quote unquote high speed chase. Listen to me, high speed chase. All right. But either way, he was brutally beaten by officers in the LA Police Department. And here's the thing. It was captured on video by a neighbor named George Holliday. He was filming. He saw it happening. And then he went and grabbed his camera and he recorded like 90 seconds of it. He recorded batons. hitting this man while he was on the ground. He recorded kicks. He recorded taser shocks that validated what many Black Americans have been saying about the police abuse, but that the rest of the world and the rest of the country never before seen. All right? That single videotape turned Rodney King's name from a nobody outside of his community to a name that was the face of police brutality in America. Now, the cops said that they pulled him over after a dangerous high-speed chase. But see, what's clear from the video is that Rodney King was driving a 4-cylinder Hyundai Excel, not Honda, Hyundai Excel. And I'm not talking about these souped-up cars that I see you all doing donuts with and racing each other in the freeway. I'm talking about a 4-cylinder Hyundai Excel straight off the block. You understand? This car was known in the 1980s and in the early 90s for being both inexpensive, lightweight, and when I say not fast, I mean not at all. This is not a sports car. This is not a muscle car. This is not a high-performance vehicle. That car would have struggled to try to get up to 90 miles per hour. You understand me? And to sustain speeds, high speed, that puts a serious strain on the brain to even conceptualize that. So, of course, Black people in LA, that's the car he was driving. I mean, it'd be different if he was in an IROC Z28. You know what I'm saying? If he was in a Mustang, what we call a 5.0, I can see that. I done seen them boys try. I done seen boys try to outrun the ghetto bird with a dirt bike. You understand? I've seen that, but not a Hyundai homeboy. Nah, not a dude from Altadena. So, you know, the thing you got to understand is, so for Black people in LA, that already seems suspicious. Somebody typed suspicious in the chat room. That was suspicious. And see, to Black people in LA, it's just another legal pretext to stop a Black man and harass him and attempt to retroactively justify what happened on the side of the road. So by the time the 1990s arrived, you need to understand that the relationship between the Black community and the LAPD department was trash. You understand me? This didn't start in the early 90s. It was an outcome from decades of abuse. Okay, we talked about the we talked about the Watts riots. 1990 to 1950 seemed like a long, 1960 seemed like a long time. It's not. Okay, because think about it. 2001 was 25 years ago. There's people alive right now. Okay, so this is part 2. But anyway, to say the least, Black people in LA didn't trust the police. They didn't like the police. They didn't see them as legitimate. The LAPD wasn't viewed as a force for public safety. It was viewed as an occupying force in the neighborhoods like South Central, Compton, and Watts. And the cops didn't come to the Black neighborhoods to protect people. They came to control, they came to suppress, and they came to harass. And see, that was our lived experiences and complaints of brutality and civil rights violations against Black folk in LA. They were documented, and they went back all the way back to the 50s and 60s when we first got there. But see, those complaints were systematically rejected and justified complaints. They never even saw them through. And so guess what? The corruption they were dealing with, it wasn't hypothetical. It was documented. And so now here we are in the late 1990s. You got this Rampart scandal. It was finally exposed. It wasn't exposed at that time, but it was exposed. And you had Black folks in LA already knew the officers. They would steal drugs and money. They would plant evidence. They would falsify reports. You understand? They would literally resell. They would take the dope from the D-boys and resell the dope on the street. They had no problem with taking your money. They pick your pockets, take your money. Oh, that's my auntie money. They take your money and you be done. You understand? And then you had things like CRASH. This was the anti-gang unit. Now, CRASH stands for Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums. CRASH. This is what they named this particular division. And so by the 1990s, you know, and the Rampart division corruption, it exposed like 70 police officers. This is culture-wide. Implicated in wrongdoing, they falsified evidence, theft, they planted weapons. I mean, they had to overturn 100 cases. They had to overturn 100 cases. You know how hard it is to try 100 cases? Most lawyers don't even try 100 cases in their whole career that might last 40 years. They had to overturn 100 cases. They got sued 140 times, civil suits. You understand me? I want y'all to hear how corrupt this is. And see, the behavior was already back. It was baked into the LAPD culture. You had Chief Daryl Gates, LAPD. He openly embraced militarized police. He thought he was in Vietnam or World War II. He talked about the black community like it was a threat. You see, not like we were tax-paying constituents. And see, there was no concept of de-escalation. Okay? Everything was escalate. Traffic stop, turn violent because the cops escalate. They needed to win every battle. A random Terry stop turned into a search and a beating. And the cops didn't hesitate to jack you up, and people simply just got that. Look, nothing you could do. They did it because they could. And the cops would deliberately arrest and detain people. Man, they would pick up youngsters and gangsters or whatever, and then drop them off, right, in a rival gang's neighborhood. Knowing that if they drop you off over there, you might get jumped, jacked, killed, or whatever. And see, these stories circulated because they matched how the department operated. It was reckless, it was hostile, it was unaccountable. And the cops didn't see black people as citizens with rights. They saw us as enemies to be contained. And that mindset defined policing in Los Angeles before Rodney King ever appeared on that grainy video, substantiating what black people in LA had been saying the whole time. We knew this was going on. The rest of the world didn't know. They didn't believe us. They chose not to believe us. So when the videotape aired and the public finally saw Rodney King on the ground, surrounded by the cops, and in that 90-second video, we saw this man get hit 50, 60 times. And just so you know what they did, they cracked his skull in multiple places. They broke his ankle. They break your ankle? They hitting you on the ground so hard your ankle is broken. They fractured the man's face in multiple places, including a broken eye. So they hit this man in the face with a billy club on the ground, broke his eye socket. Hit him in the head, hit him in the face. He had bruises all over his body. I mean, they hit him so hard in his body that it ruptured his kidneys. And the doctor said that Rodney King had permanent brain damage from this beating. Keep in mind, we talk about basically a speeding ticket, which was iffy in the first place. So, as far as Black LA was concerned, this is a clear-cut case of police brutality. It's what we've been talking about the whole time. Okay, to us, the case seemed open and shut. The evidence was visual. Denied. This is the first time we had videotape. How can you deny this? They replayed it over and over again. Over and over again. But see, here's what happened. The defense lawyers for the 4 cops, they filed a motion to change venue. And so instead of having the case in the heart of the city, right down there in downtown LA, they moved the case out of LA and they moved it to Simi Valley. Now, the thing what you have to understand about, didn't I tell y'all about that white flight? They got up out of there. They flighted. That white flight, they all went to Simi Valley. So they went to Simi Valley. It's basically a white suburb. Is a concentration of retired cops and law enforcement. And guess what happened? Now it's Wednesday, April 29th, 1992. The verdict comes back. The jury acquits these 3 cops. And basically they had a hung jury on the last one. So that was it. And so for black people in LA, it confirmed what we already believed. Even when the police brutality is caught on tape and the whole world could see it for itself, the system is still going to protect itself. So, I'm a senior at high school in LA on that day. Manual Arts High School. You can check the resume. South Central LA. Manual Arts sits on the corner of Vermont Avenue and Martin Luther King Boulevard. So you already know where I'm at. I'm on ML right there. You understand? And I live with my mom and my stepdad at the time, and the address is with 9147 South Dinker. And that's about 15, 20-minute drive, school headed south. So I lived on Martin Luther King Boulevard, which is right here. And so USC is like over there. I could literally see the Coliseum where the Raiders used to play, where the LA Raiders used to play. And so I got to go south. And as you head south, you get more and more in the community, in the Black community. So, I heard the news. I was in the weight room. It was sixth period. And as I remember it, like I said, it was a Wednesday. And it hit me hard. You know what I'm saying? Because harder than I expected. Because you got to understand something. I grew up in South Central LA. You hear about death and all the time. Gang violence, shootings, funerals. It's constant. And so tragedy becomes part of the background noise. And as messed up as that sound, there's logic to it. Okay, if you want to escape violence that comes with poverty and gangs, you move out the hood. But Rodney King wasn't in the hood anymore. He lived in Altadena. And that wasn't the ghetto. That was a long-standing Black middle-class professional community. Okay, it was the home of those Black families who predated that second great migration. That middle class, upper middle class Black resident who had already established themselves. And see, that's where Black people moved when they were trying to get away from the hood, try to have something better. And the fact that you could still be stopped and beaten and brutalized by police made something click for me in that moment. It made me realize that there's no escaping police targeting as a Black man. You could change your address. You can change your neighborhood. You can change your income, but you couldn't change how the cops saw you. You see, and people reacted in different ways. Some angry, some stunned. But I went to a mostly Black and Mexican high school, should I say Black and Latino high school. And so, a lot of people felt the exact way I do. You understand? And that wasn't confusion. So anyway, I'm on my way home and, I'm hearing the guilty verdict and I didn't feel like lifting weights anymore. So I ditched class. I left school. I headed home. I didn't know Rodney King, nor did I have any particular grudge against the cops. I'd been pulled over a bunch of times. Cops never, they sweated me, but not like that. You see? But as a Black man, I empathize with Rodney King. You see, I realized that nothing had really changed, since my grandmama never left down south. I heard the stories before. I know that my elders had endured racism. And so, my usual route, I take a back street up 42nd Street, headed west. I make that left turn on Normandy. I head south all the way down to 92nd Street. And so, then I would turn right on 92nd Street, head north again for a few blocks, get to the top of the hill, and then make a right on Dinker. And my mama's house is about the second house from the corner. And so I started my Volkswagen Bug and, Beetle, y'all call it Bug, Volkswagen Beetle. And, I had parked outside the back gate of Manual Arts. So I hopped the gate. School hadn't let out. I ditched. That means leaving school early. It wasn't, I know it sounds bad. Kids don't leave school early, but it was a different time period, I had my music playing. I had turned up, I had 2 tens rigged in the back seat of my Bug. I had stripped out all the interior of the upholstery. So when the sound banged, it was like bare steel on the roof. And it was like a hollow ringing. My ears used to ring all the time when I was young because I play that loud music. I got them 2 tens banging with my little pull-out radio. And, I just played a loud, oftentimes, many brothers will tell you, just play that loud music, that gangster rap, that deep, hard bass, and it helps you null your feelings. You know what I'm saying? Some people go to the strip club. Like I used to go to the strip club, long time ago, And I would just go there and just listen to the music because I just wanted to hear that deep bass. Y'all like, you just went there for the chicken and the music? You lying, Uncle D, you lying. Well, you know, it was some fine brown women in there that kept me company. I was a divorced man at that time. I was single. But bottom line is the music, man, it helps you numb your feelings. And shout out to Penelope. Thank you, baby. But you know, it transformed my sorrow and pity into anger and rage. You know, I had all these emotions, and you know, this is something I became accustomed to. This is how I process my feeling, like a lot of brothers. You know, you go somewhere, be quiet. But anyway, so I'm driving down Normandy. I'm headed south, and I'm a few blocks from the intersection of Normandy Avenue and Florence Boulevard. Okay, and you all who know why that street is famous or why that intersection is famous, you know what I'm about to say. So I've been in deep thought. I'm not really paying attention. I'm just driving my bug, you know. But I could tell there's something going on up on the corner. You see, up ahead at the intersection. So I pulled my bug over to the side, my Volkswagen to the side of the street, just right there on Normandy. And I got out my car and I started walking toward, and I saw a young black man, young brother. He was walking my way. He's about my age, walking southbound on the sidewalk. And as he passed me, I said, what happened? And he said, they riding. I said, what? He said, it's a riot. Man, after I heard it was a riot, I ran back to my bug so I could move that motherfucker to a safer spot. Then I got out the car and ran back up the street to Normandy Avenue. I jumped out and jogged. But look, I couldn't really run because I had on baggy pants. So, you know, but not like I could. I couldn't run. I'm running and holding my pants and running down there to the street. I'm trying to keep them sliding down. But as I got closer, you know, I slowed down and I stopped short of the intersection. And if I'm putting myself, I'm looking to the left. You got Tom's Liquor right here on the north. No, Tom's Liquor is on the southeast corner. Okay, they'd already been ran through. It was glass everywhere. It was hundreds of people outside. You know what I'm saying? They just stand around watching traffic. Traffic mostly stopped coming through because what was happening is people was throwing bottles at the cars that was come through, or the people that were the non-black people as they tried to pass through the intersection. This is a busy intersection, you know, and the cop cars, they was rolling through a few times. They had their lights on, the sirens came, and every time they came through, somebody would throw a bottle. Everybody was throwing bottles and beer, and it flew at the cars from all directions. And so the cops were outnumbered, you see? And after a few passes, they got the message and they pulled out. You see, yeah, northeast corner. That's right. It's northeast, left, east. I'm going this way. I'm headed south, so it's to my left, right there on the corner. And the gas station is across the street. But I'm on the right side of the street. I'm on the southbound side of Normandy walking. But the cops, you know, after a few times they got the message and they just pulled out. And so the cars driven by the non-black people, they, you know, tried to, you know, push through. They were hit with bottles in the windshields. Most of the drivers panicked when they got the bottle hit and they drove. They just sped up, you know, which is a smart thing to do. But, you know, some people got angry and a few made the mistake of stopping. And as soon as they did, people rushed them and the doors were yanked off, open, and the drivers got drug out and beaten in the street. I watched this Hispanic dude, man. I mean, they snatched him out the truck and they left him bloody on the pavement. And after the back of the truck was open, people went up in there and turned out it was a tampon truck. And I don't even think I knew what a tampon was at that time. But, you know, then I saw a middle-aged white woman, and this is still disturbing to me, man. She looked like a school teacher. And they, like, you know, you had a lot of teachers in the hood that would come from different parts of the town, white lady, you know, she looked like a school teacher, middle-aged white woman. And they pulled her out of her car and she was beaten until she collapsed. I remember her. I can see now. I can see it. I can see it now. And they left her rolling around on the ground. And I mean, she was just surrounded. I could see her white skin. Like I'm back behind the crowd looking, and I could just see through the people's gaps in people's bodies and arms. You know, I could see her white skin flashing, the blood, and the crowd was just standing over. And they kept kicking her. And they kept kicking her until it was just hard to watch. And you know, you had news helicopters and police helicopters circling over, but they were useless because you know it was an older black woman who broke through the crowd, and she literally threw herself on top of this white woman as she was laying on the ground trying to protect her body. And that's the only thing to save that woman's life. And then after that happened, it was an elderly black man who stepped in. And I don't know if he knew the older black woman, maybe it was his wife, maybe not. I don't know. But one of the people hit him, you know, but he didn't move. I remember that one of the people hit him, the older black man, and he didn't move. You know, he stood there, and these older people, they jumped in, and the people who had been kicking that older white woman, they backed off and they went on to do something else. You know, it wouldn't matter who the white woman was. It wouldn't matter if she was married to a black man, if she had a school teacher and helped black kids all her life. It wouldn't matter. The only thing that mattered is she was the wrong color in the wrong place. And so the other thing I do remember, I saw the Korean man who I believe could have either been the owner of Tom's Liquor. They beat him so bad he ran off, and then they ransacked the store. And you know, you have to understand the tension between black residents in LA and Korean merchants have been building for years. Okay, especially since Natasha Harlins. This young lady, she was is 1991, and apparently she had gotten a conflict with the Korean merchant, and some about some orange juice, and then she turned around and walked away, and the lady shot her in the back. And you know that happens, but the bottom line is all they did was give her probation. They gave the Korean merchant probation, and so black people perceived that as an injustice. You know, and I walked in the store to see what was going on. And there was bottles on the ground everywhere. The shelves were overturned. People were running out. And then I saw a young black dude light some paper and throw it on a pile of debris. And, you know, after that, you know, the whole place just caught on fire. But I got up out of there, you know. But I mean, the smart thing to do would be what? Take all the stuff and loot it. But it wasn't about being smart. This was about chaos. It was about, you know, if we can't have peace, you can't have peace either. You see? But anyway, by the time I was on the northeast corner, so now Tom's is over here, northeast corner over here in Normandy. No, opposite. I'm jumping out of, I'm coming out of Tom's, and I'm just over there on that side. I'm on the northeast corner on this side of Normandy. And you know, that's why I saw the white man who had stopped his truck to argue. So he got dragged out of his truck. I watched as they hit him. They hit him with a brick. And if I recall, somebody went to the car. They came out with some sort of shotgun and they fired on him. And when I saw that, I just turned away. You know, I didn't want to see it anymore. Now I found out later that was Reginald Denny. You know, that beat down was captured. The news helicopter, they were flying overhead, and that was one of the defining images of the 1992 LA Rodney King riots. I mean, they cracked the man's skull. He had skull fractures. He had permanent injuries. And the dude that did it was a cat named Damon Football Williams. Okay, they eventually convicted him of assault with a deadly weapon, I think, for hitting him with the brick. But I stayed out there until the sun almost was down. I saw smoke everywhere, and it rose into the air. There's fires burning everywhere. The whole situation spread outward, you know, from Normandy and Florence until everywhere. I remember hearing before I left, man, they on the east side, you know. They on the east side. Straight up, they on the east side. It's everywhere, you know. We didn't have cell phones back then, but it was getting dark. And the city had to let the law, they had to let the people blow off steam, you know? And for me, it lasted till like May 1st, 1992, which is that Friday, when the police had me arrested on the goddamn ground. I'm I'm down the street from my mama house on Manchester, right there by the Boys Market between Western and probably Dinker. And my dumb ass is out there trying to strip a car of some car seats, right? I'm like, you know, they got me handcuffed, sat me on the curb and gave me a warning. They let me go. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have a record or anything like that. But, you know, the National Guard came through and that was over. You know, they brought the National Guard in. And George H.W. Bush was the president at the time. And more than 50 people died. You know, it cost billions of dollars. They got rid of Chief Daryl Gates because it was too heavy-handed. You know, but that was the first time in my life I remember, you know, that was for a while, the summer, it was like the Crips and the Bloods was getting along, you know, it was, you know, and that lasted for like a summer or so, but you know, it is what it is. But here's a cold part about it. So later I learned something, and I want to talk to y'all about this because this is really the most important lesson. And this is something that nobody knows. Okay. So, you know, I learned how the riot really started. Okay. It wasn't some random chaos that just happened on Normandy and Florence. Yeah, we all heard the verdict, but you know, there might be a ticking time bomb, but something lit the fuse. And so the fuse was lit. It began in a neighborhood, a specific neighborhood, a side street, you know, right. It happened near that corner, but right outside of some people's house. So the LAPD officers, I guess the word was, we're not going to let them burn the city down. So they just hit the streets and they start randomly patrolling, and they really move very aggressive on these people. And this was, you know, this is somebody's hood. Okay. All right. Their job, they were trying to block people from, you know, because people were out just mourning the verdict. They had to get it out. And again, this is not just the hood. This is somebody's hood. You know. Now I'm gonna throw some words out there. I don't want YouTube to get mad at me, but the area the police first began harassing residents in was known as A-Tray Gangster Hood, ETG. You see, there used to be A-Tray Gangster Crip, but they dropped the Crip and they just gangster. Okay, but at that time, I think that was, you know, A-Tray Gangster Crip. Okay. And they're one of the most violent gangs in LA. You know, I remember my cousin, Teran, used to live off of, what was that, Western in Manchester. And I forget the name of that little park up there, but that's where all the ETGs used to hang out. Now, I live over off of, and I know you all like, what are you talking about, Dennis? Everybody who's not from LA. So we moved from the east side over there off of between Compton Boulevard and Long Beach, which is kind of near where the Pablo housing projects are. And then we moved from the east side to 1104 West 58th Place, which is right off Slauson in Vermont. That's a neighborhood. That's NHC hood. That's going to be considered like they alive with 60s, because all the NHCs, the neighborhoods typically, at least back then, I don't know, I don't keep up with LA politics now, but I went to John Muir, my whole family went to John Muir, a lot of my cousins went to Crenshaw. So the 60s are in this area. This is right off Slauson, and you got the NHCs right there, and that extends all the way up to the neighborhoods. So, you know, a lot of my family members were not, I'm not going to say affiliated, associated, but they would, you know, they went to Crenshaw. So they was affiliated with the 60s. And 60s is a huge, you know, LA street gang. Now, I went to Manual Arts, and that's 40s hood. Okay. Typically, all the Rollins get along. So you got the 60s, the 50s, the 40s. You got the 30s. And the crazy part is, when I was young, I used to live off 37th in Vermont, right across the street from USC. But, you know, then you got the Harlems up there, but that's a different gang affiliated, Red Rag affiliated. But the bottom line is, so, you know, the ETGs are notoriously known for being violent. And, you know, and so now, you know, you got the LAPD in the ETG hood. You see what I'm saying? Where people, mamas and sisters are at, you know? and you know, they got a reputation, you know, and I'm sure the LAPD absolutely knew what that reputation was. They know ETG was known for drive-bys, heavy weaponry, ruthless enforcement. You know what I'm saying? They went from being Crips to everybody. Anybody can get it, you know. I think, and you know, the gangbanging was organized, it was mechanized. You got to understand, we talk about the height of the crack epidemic, so people had money. It wasn't just thumping and banging with baseball bats and 35, you know, and Saturday night specials. We talk about 9mm, semi-automatic, AK-47. This wasn't theoretical. You know, again, one of the most notorious people that came out of that gang was a cat named Monster Cody Scott. They call him Monster. His name was Cody Scott. He died a few years back, but you know, he carried a lot of weight in prison and on the street. All right. And so this was not the place where people quietly accepted being pushed around, especially by the police. All right. So after the acquittals, you know, when it was announced, you had a lot of residents came out of their house, little small groups talking, you know, like black people do. We get outside, we chop it up, we talk. Who want to be in the house? You got to unload that. You know, we were venting, we were angry, it was disbelief, it was frustration. But that wasn't a riot. You understand? It was just the community reacting in real time to a verdict that felt like confirmation that the system didn't value black life. And people were standing around in front of their own homes in their own blocks. You understand? You know, and what turned that moment combustible was LAPD's response. So instead of monitoring or containing or allowing space for people to process what had just happened, you had officers, they drove directly into the residential streets and they confronted civilians aggressively, and they attempted to force people back into their homes. And that rough handling those residents, okay, in their homes and harassing people, they were putting women in headlocks, they were putting girls in chokeholds and headlocks and all that physical force. That was like gasoline. And so that approach backfired, that escalated in immediate. The neighborhood already was hostile towards the police. I mean, you got people that's known for violence, right? And, you know, you got the LAPD didn't disperse people. It didn't unify. And so anger spread block to block, word got around fast. And when officers eventually pulled back, the residents didn't retreat. They moved together. They walked up to Florence and Normandy. That's where it started. So it was a convergence point. It was a major intersection. It was a natural gathering point. But by the time people arrived, okay, the fuse had already been lit. By the time I got there, the bottles was already getting thrown. I'm thinking this is where it started. But the truth is, it started in the hood over in front of these gangsters' house. You see what I'm saying? And so now you got traffic installed, the intersection filled, the police are gone, and the momentum took over. And once that line was crossed, the containment was no longer possible. Now, don't look, my gang politics of LA is 50 years old. Okay. I don't want none of you modern day gang. Don't come up in here with that. I don't believe in none of that. I think you're all are sellouts. Okay. Just so I can be honest with you, I think you don't get no glory over here. Okay. If I was in charge, it wouldn't be any repeated, you wouldn't be around. You see what I'm saying? You've been unaliving and murdering black people. You killed more people than the Klan. You understand? They 5,000 people were lynched in 100 years of Jim Crow. You understand me? And whether we talking about Chicago or LA or Oakland or whatever, you people have killed more black people than the Klan ever would. So you don't get no glory over here. My whole point of bringing it up is that there was some violent criminals already. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to tell you. They were notoriously known for violence. You don't get any credit over here. Okay. That said, bottom line is, this is what happened. It was the LAPD escalating. You see? It was the LAPD escalating. Let me say it plainly. The 1992 riots, the uprising, okay? I personally lived through that, but it wasn't the first time in American history. It wasn't the last. And that matters because the pattern never changes. Different city, different decade, same trigger. Someone gets hurt, the system refuses accountability, the lie gets stamped as the truth, and the pressure blows out of the walls. And people's always try to personalize it, okay? They ask, do you hate the police? No, I don't live with a personal vendetta against the police. I've been stopped by them. I've dealt with the cops. I haven't been brutalized the way others have. Hell, I just got arrested back in 2014 in front of my office. They detained me for about 25, 30 minutes. I'm talking about my law office with a suit on, right? I'm at the ATM machine. They get a call that somebody's trying to break into the bank next to the ATM machine. I'm the first black man they see. I had a pistol on me. Had my back turned when they walked up. They didn't have their lights on. I could have turned around and whipped out and they would have shot me down or tried. You see what I'm saying? So, again, but it is what it is. Now, I end up suing them the following business day for civil rights violations. You can actually Google that online because it's like they can do it to me. They can do it to anybody. I wasn't going to let it happen. See, I'm not going to be like our black bougie LA predecessors when the black people from the country came to town. Like, nah, we don't want to have anything to do with that. No, if you're going to do it to me, it's going to shut down. I'm not going to let you do it. If you could do it to me, can only imagine what you're doing to the poor young black youth. So I had to set a precedent. You can Google that right now. Lawyer gets arrested 2014. Lawyer gets arrested at Chase Bank 2014. You'll look it up. I did an interview and everything. But I hadn't had any problems with the cops. You see what I'm saying? But like I said, but that's not the point. You don't need your own scars to recognize a machine that keeps producing scars over and over in city after city. And that's because America doesn't run on harmony. It runs on power. You understand? It was built through force, defended through force. And whenever it corrects itself, it does so through pressure. So when black communities respond to injustice with disruption, that is an un-American behavior. It's an American response inside an American system. People just don't like it when we do it, right? Black people are not passive people. We can be patient, we can be restrained, we can vote, we march, we preach, we beg. But when the courts close ranks and the police are protected and politicians stall, reaction becomes inevitable, not because we're irrational, but because we're human. Pressure produces response. This is why the same story keeps repeating. Harlem, 1964. Detroit, Newark, 1967. Cities across the country. Oakland, Oakland, 2009. Ferguson, 2014. Baltimore, 2015. Different places, same conditions, same outcomes. So when people ask, why does this keep happening? The answer is simple. The system keeps generating the cause and the response keeps following. And that's not a mystery. It's the diagnosis. And if America refuses to address that cause, then it's choosing the effect again and again. Now, to understand what really happened, you have to really look deeper into police brutality. And I'm going to land this plane in a minute, but most of y'all understand where I'm going already. We got smart people in here, okay? This is never just about batons and verdicts and bad cops. It was about a series of systematic decisions that backfired. And when black people migrated to American cities for work, for factories, for port, for railroads, manufacturing, white America responded by leaving. You understand? Capital fled, tax bases vanished, political attention disappeared, resources were stripped out and redirected to the suburbs. The strategy was simple and intentional. Starve the cities and starve us out. Let jobs disappear, let schools decay, let infrastructure crumble, force us to leave or die. But we didn't leave and we didn't die. We stayed. And because the cities were deliberately abandoned, they collapsed around us. Not due to black failure, but due to white withdrawal. And they took the money with them. Detroit, LA, Chicago, Baltimore, Newark. White America believed walking away would weaken us. Instead, it hollowed out its own economic engines. And when decades of pressure finally broke, when injustice met exhaustion, We didn't just protest, we destroyed the cities, and rebuilding them cost billions. And that's the part people nobody likes to say out loud. See, there's a consistent pattern here. Every attempt to suppress Black Americans creates a larger cost for the country. Abandon the cities burn, over police Black communities, law enforcement budgets explode, they build prisons instead of schools, and the prisons overflow until the federal courts intervene. California didn't reduce incarceration out of moral awakening. It did it because racist policy became financially unsustainable. Overcrowding lawsuits, federal oversight, ideology collided with reality. And so the conclusion is unavoidable. Racism is expensive. Unfair crime laws were designed to cage us, and now the entire state budgets are consumed by prisons, courts, police, overtime, settlements, consent decrees. Money they could have just spent on our education and infrastructure or healthcare. It's burned, just keeping the system from collapsing. See, racism doesn't conserve resources, it drains them. Instead of fixing the original problem, instead of making amends for your original sin, investing in and repairing the damage done to the descendants of the enslaved of the country, they tried avoidance. They tried to import labor. They tried to import talent. They tried to replace rather than repair. And here's the irony. Many of those groups brought in, the Asians, the Indians, the Africans, they've outperformed large segments of the white folk economically. Not because they're superior, but because they were not systematically sabotaged for generations by law. Everything leads back to the same unresolved foundation. Until this country fully, materially, and structurally does right by foundational Black Americans, the cycle is going to continue. Pressure builds, cities burn, money bleeds out. And here's the final reality they refuse to confront. If the country burns down, they don't have anyone left to rebuild it. The same people who were excluded and underpaid, overpoliced, and replaced are the ones who built the infrastructure in this place. White America prefers to manage and maintain. It does not like to build from scratch. That work has always been pushed downward. So the lesson is simple. Even if it's uncomfortable, you can't suppress, abandon, and replace and punish, but you understand? You can't. You can't escape the cost. Ignore justice long enough and the bill always comes due. So that being the case, who thinks, and let me run this back by y'all real quick. Did I answer the question? Why did we start this conversation in the first place? What were we talking about in the first place? Remember what they said? The Black immigrants, the Hispanic immigrants, they kept saying foundational Black Americans are next. That will be deported or pushed out the same way other groups can be. And I've said repeatedly across multiple broadcasts that this is not going to happen. First, it's not going to happen because we are foundational Black Americans. Second, and more important, it's not going to happen because we are Americans, not paper Americans, not conditional Americans. We are foundational to this country itself. Being American is the key factor here. Being a foundational American is what makes the difference. We are culturally and historically and structurally 100% American in a way no immigrant group can ever be, no matter how long they stay or how successful they become. To understand why deportation talk is a fantasy when it comes to us, You have to understand two things very clearly. What it actually means to be American and what it means to be a foundational Black American. Those are not abstract labels. Those are lived identities formed through violence, labor, survival, and conflict. And once you understand how America really works and how foundational Black Americans were formed inside that reality, it becomes obvious why we are not next, why we're not going anywhere, and why this country cannot separate itself from us, even if it wanted to. Now, do I need to keep speaking on this, or can I go ahead and read these super chats? I think y'all get it. I think you all get it. Shout out to everybody who contributed to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Did you learn something? Did you learn something today? Did you all learn something today? Tonight, wherever you are? Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Let me give a big shout out to everybody who contributed to the Cash App. Obadiah, thank you so much. Turner, thank you. Let's see what we got here. Reparationist Perspective, thank you so much. Who else? Greg L., thank you for the $10. Raymond Griffin, thank you for the $10. Richard Pettigrew, thank you for the $5. Obadiah, thank you for the $5. And of course, I said Turner for the $5. And Reparations, thank you so much. All right. Let's see who we got. 15 super chat. I've been talking for 3 hours. I need to talk for another 3 hours to see if y'all can learn something. Do I need to keep talking? I don't think so. I think y'all got it. I think you guys got it. Let's go ahead and read these super chats. I want to read what you guys have to say. It'd be great if we can get another 5. But only if you learn something. Like I said, you don't owe me anything. I'm not going to be out here begging y'all for these super chats, but I will put my phone number up here. So if you've been involved in a car accident, you can give me a call, because clearly I'm not going to make enough money ever hanging out with you guys for 3 or 4 hours. But the phone number, you've been involved in a car accident, give me a call at 713-229-0770. I'll be more than happy to help you. I'm licensed in multiple states. Look for it. I've been inducted into the Southern University Hall of Fame. I'm admitted to practice in the Supreme Court of the United States, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, many different district courts, federal courts, 6 state courts. So I can handle your car accident. Feel free to call me. I've been at it 26 years. This right there on the bottom of the screen. Now, again, if you need a family law lawyer, that's not me. Trying to get a will for your grandma, that's not me. Car accidents only. Okay, maybe a slip and fall every now and then, but for the most part, that's it. Y'all help me help you. But shout out to Man Made. Welcome. He said, no more pimping out FBA. Ain't that the truth? Super sticker TR Hill 3611. Thank you for the $5 super sticker. Hold James Turner 5029 for the collection plate. Blizzard Brother, thank you so much, James. Yeah, we got 16 people to learn something. So y'all already knew the city burnt. Y'all already knew the country burnt up. You already knew 100 cities were on fire after King died. Y'all knew that already. Y'all didn't learn nothing. Damn. I thought I was gonna surprise y'all tonight. I thought I would at least get like 18 super chats. Damn. I mean, golly, off rip. I mean, but y'all know everything. Y'all so smart. Golly, I wish I could be like y'all. But anyway, yeah, so, we got 16 super chats. I guess we'll make that happen. Only 16 people learned something. But that's okay. Anyway, if you learn, I earn. Make sure you subscribe. Can you imagine what would happen if a bunch of non-Black people start dragging FBAs out of their houses, off the streets, probably in the reason they are? That's what I'm trying to say. What? One taxi driver? You got one taxi driver in Newark that nobody probably even knew. And they just turned the whole city up. You got a 21-year-old boy in Watts that nobody knew, and they turned the city up. Can Can you imagine 100 cities burning up for Martin Luther King and half the people was not feeling him like that? But on the strength that he's one of ours. Now imagine trying to drag 40 million black people out of America against their will. What you think is going to happen after the first 3? After the word gets out, yeah, man, they taking black Americans and trying to send us to Beirut or something like that. What do you think is going to happen immediately? Who they going to send? I want to know who you're going to send. Who you going to send to get? You couldn't even handle a poverty, impoverished part of the ghetto in Watts, California. That's just the neighborhood. That had you up and on for 6 days. What are you going to do with 40 million? So all this fear mongering that these immigrants are doing, telling it, oh, y'all next, then we won't be next. They already know who we are. And so all you youngsters out there talking about, yeah, they're coming for you. No, they're not, baby. They're not coming for us. Okay, it's not going to be a good day if they come for us. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. That's what I'm trying to let y'all know. You know what I'm saying? Stop all this fear. We are more American than all of these folk who just got here from Ellis Island. They don't even understand. You understand? We are the Americans. We have absorbed all that America has. We are the truth. Somebody type the truth. We are the true Americans. See, our culture was developed here. We are not African. We are not European. We are not Native American. We are 100% American. We with it. We 100% with all of. We with the young people that we with the shits. Okay, that's what. Fear nothing. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. That's what you all need to understand. And it's not because of the color of our skin. This is what we had to do. We've been constantly under pressure. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, Alonzo, for pointing it out. Appreciate you, brother. Good looking out. I'm glad somebody learned something because apparently all the rest of these people didn't learn nothing. But anyway, Tampa Bong, the $20 US FBA now living in the Philippines. Thank you so much, brother, for the $20. I appreciate you. I didn't know what that was. But Croc 6218 FBA, thank you so much, family. I appreciate Storyteller learning something, brother. Thank you so much, family. I appreciate you. And RS11, thank you for the $5 super sticker. My grandma Sarah Woodard survived Rosewood. Wow, man, that is history right there. That is history. Man, you should definitely send me an email and I'll add that next time I discuss this. We got 20 super chats. Finally, thank you. Glad at least 20 people. It's been 1,000 people in here. Only 20 people learned something. Might not be me. It might be y'all. But anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you. We got 20 super chats. Well, maybe we get 25. Can you do a video on high value men for 2026? Man, I don't really talk about relationships, man. I don't really, you like what you like. You like what you like. You can't really do. People like what they like, man. You know what I'm saying? And I like to stay in my lane. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really a relationship guy. I've never had these issues that other people have, but I'm tall, handsome, and smart. You know what I'm saying? Got all my hair, got a good hairline. I ain't even got a bald spot back there. So I don't have these issues. I'm a tall, handsome man. I mean, the thing about relationships is, man, and let me just be honest with you. Like I'm a tall, handsome black man. So what works for me is not going to work for a short, not so handsome Asian man or short white man. You understand? I'm a big man. You can't miss me. So, you might be tall and skinny. You got to go with what you like. Women that like big men might not like you. You see what I'm saying? If you're a skinny fella. I tell my sons, them boys, they barely 6 feet. My oldest son, he might be 6'1". I'm like, son, you barely 6 feet. You kind of short to me, and he's about 180 pounds, very muscular young man, but he looks just like the black man that all black women like. They love that look. Now he's, engineering student, so he ain't really got no game. You know what I'm saying? He gonna have to find him a nice square lady that, you know, but you know, he looks like the brother that all the ladies like, got that basketball build, you know, slender. You know, I said, man, they gonna eat you up. He's over at U of H. I said, I'm trying to get him over to the cross register at TSU. I said, them little girls over there gonna eat you alive, boy. They gonna love you. You kind of nerdish and you're tall and you don't talk a lot. You know, and I'm like, they gonna tear you up when you get over there. You know, they're gonna tease you, they're gonna talk about you, they're gonna hit you. But if they can get you in the corner somewhere, boy, you better watch out. And you know, and I said, and that's how black women are. They like what they like, and you are what they like. I try to tell my son that. I say, man, black women love you. You just what black women. He brown. You know, I'm yellow. They scared of me because I'm yellow. I'm high yellow, look like their granddaddy. And oh, goddamn it, granddaddy crazy. But him, he a brown boy. You know what I'm saying? He brown. It's like brown goes around. Everybody like brown black men. White women like him. Hispanic women like it. Black women like it. But you yellow like me, they look like he's trouble. He looks like he's gonna be a problem. So you know, but like I said, man, everybody likes what they like. That's why I don't really give relationship advice. I might throw a few tidbits in there. Like the other day, I said, hey, baby, just cook you some food and be good at cooking. You know what I'm saying? Get good at cooking. You can get you somebody, man. You bringing something to the table. Cooking will kind of take you over the top. Ladies, if you cooking, you can't really do too much wrong. You know what I'm saying? You cooking, we're gonna make sure you have a kitchen, and it's gonna be a kitchen with a house around it. And if you cooking that good, you're gonna have a place to stay. Okay, so that's the basics. If you can learn how to cook, if you can throw some cleaning up a little bit in there, maybe, you know, get the budget for the maid. But I'm telling you, a woman that can cook, yeah, she's not gonna have a problem. I don't care who you are. If you cooking, you spend your day cooking, you might not even have to have a job. I'm trying to tell y'all, ladies. I'm trying to tell you, ladies. I swear. I'm telling you, if you cook, cooking is key. All the rest of that, any man. Let me tell you something, baby. Let me see. You got me started. I'm trying to finish this broadcast. I don't have no business talking about this. I'm talking serious business. But cooking is key to a household. I mean, it all starts and stops. That's how you make a home. You start with the food. And you know, because you know, you're gonna know you can control a man with food. You know where he's gonna be at breakfast time, you know where he's gonna be at lunch, and you know where he's gonna be at dinner. Now you can't keep control everywhere he is. You got you know, but if you keep him fed, that's a good start. A lot of other stuff can be worked out. You having to argue with your man, put a nice plate of food in front of him. Now, any decent man is gonna be like, whatever he was mad at, after you feed him, it's gonna, whatever he was mad, it's gonna kind of subside. You know, any man, ladies, any man you can't get with food, you don't want him anyway. He got issues. I'll just say that like that. If you can't, he got too much time on his hands. Okay. Young man, you can't really get him with food. I mean, you can try to coax him in, but you don't want that anyway. That's too much erratic, too much crazy going on in them youngsters, you know. Any man is under like 30 years old, he's still trying to conquer the world. And he, you know, and he ain't quite settled yet. But once you get settled and you get everything established, you figure out what's going on in life. You like, okay, well, I can do pretty much anything I can. You can go eat with, you know, they call up these girls and hang out with them on these dating apps or whatever, but they ain't cooking. You see what I'm saying? When I was bachelor, I get anything from my woman, anything from a woman except a good home cooked meal. And that's what you miss. You see what I'm saying? After a while, look, that 2 or 3 minutes of fiery passion, they're like, okay, now what do we do for the rest of the day? You know, I might go on back in, but I need to eat, you know? So, but that would be my advice. Just work, in other words, work on yourself. You know, that would be my advice. Can I do a high value? Because high value men eat too. I like to eat. Clearly, I like to eat. But anyway, thank you so much, brother. You got a lot for that $2 super sticker. I'm gonna send you a bill. But anyway, thanks to B Hunter, who is Queen Nurse. I'm learning something. We are more powerful than we realize, especially when we are all on code. Delineate and check all paperwork moving forward. Good looking out, baby girl. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Penelope, I lived in LA during the time, and not long after, I watched the Million Man March with the maintenance man in my building, who was from Simi Valley. It was a pivotal moment in history. I was at the Million Man March. It was 1995. My school, Grambling State University, they had sponsored a bus, but my daddy, right back there, he had decided that we were going to go. So we actually flew up to New York, and then we drove down to DC, and I remember there, and I remember that. You know, I actually have some photographs of the Million Man March with my dad. It was I never felt more at peace than that one day. You know, first I was a little nervous because they was talking about the white supremacists is gonna take over and do stuff, but they wouldn't know. And my dad was like, "You mean with 1 million black men out there? You think these white they're gonna run as far as they can?" You see what I'm saying? I was like, "Wow," and he was right. You know, my dad was he's an interesting person, man. You know, he always you gonna be all right. You know, he was that type of dude. You'll be all right. And you be nervous and upset and everything, like you be fine. It's like sometimes I hear that voice like, man, you're gonna be passed away in 2001 or 2021. But thank you so much, Penelope. Appreciate you, baby. Who else? Eskimo Black. Appreciate the work. Thank you so much. We got 21 super chats. Maybe we get to 25. That'll be live. The Rough Hasher. Thank you for the 1999 super sticker. We got who else we got up in here? Super sticker Path Guy 742. Thank you so much. Who else? Hello from Baton Rouge, LA, home of the SU Jaguars, FBA. Oh, that's right, man. Shout out to you, man. Shout out SU. Yaya's Kids. Thank you for the super sticker, Yaya's Kids. I appreciate you so much. Always good to have you here. Intricately Tangled. Always learning something. These youngsters don't know how FBAs move. We're resting. Yes, we are resting. And they better leave us alone and let us keep resting. Shout out to Orange DNA with the super sticker. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And also Red Sigma learning something. That's what I'm talking about. We got 22 people who've learned something. You all are the true MVPs in here tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Now, again, thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. I appreciate it if you all would hit the like button. I certainly would appreciate that. I spend a lot of time putting the finishing touches on these things. Sometimes it takes me like 10 hours to put all this research together because I want it to be as thorough as possible. And, you know, sometimes I'll go off on a tangent, but for the most part, I try to keep it so you can clip and cut and paste this stuff and come back to it in the future. You learned a lot. I think you all did. But now, you know, I want to kind of close this thing out, and I appreciate the time you guys spent me. I want to respect your time. So in the beginning of the broadcast, I defined what it meant to be an American. And that definition matters because everything that follows depends on understanding America as it actually is, not as it pretends to be. To be an American is to be born into a nation violent in its origins, yet idealistic in its language. The United States was not formed through consensus or moral purity, but through war, conquest, slavery, and displacement. And at the same time, it wrapped those realities in the rhetoric of liberty, equality, and natural rights. And that contradiction is not a flaw in the American character. It is the American character. See, from the beginning, America has spoken in universal ideals while practicing selective inclusion and then creating a permanent tension that every generation has had to confront. And see, America is also ruthless in its economics and innovative under pressure. Survival and success here have always depended on adaptation and competition and strategic thinking, and and the wealth. The wealth has been accumulated through exploitation as often as invention and progress, and has frequently followed crisis, war, depression, social unrest. Ingenuity in this country is rarely born from comfort. It comes from necessity, it comes from resistance, and constant demand to outwork, outthink, and outmaneuver the system. America's divided by design. It has competing interests. It manages power rather than eliminating struggle. Moments of unity, war, catastrophe, shared fear, they're all temporary. And once they pass, the underlying divisions return immediately. And so to be an American is not to believe the myth of harmony or automatic justice. It is to understand how the system actually operates, to survive inside it, and if capable, to bend it to your advantage or force it to change through law, coalition, or power. And that's why foundational Black Americans are not just American. We are fully American in the most literal, uncompromising sense. See, our existence did not begin with choice, consent, or immigration. It began with slavery. It began with terror and forced labor and exclusion enforced by law and violence. America didn't introduce itself to us through ideals. It introduced itself through whips and patrols and chains and property law. And see, that's the America we learned first. And that's the America we had to survive. Because of that, our understanding of this country has always been grounded in reality rather than rhetoric. We learned early that the rights without enforcement are suggestions and promises without power are empty. Being American to us is never meant believing the story. It is meant understanding the system. And that understanding is not abstract. It is inherited knowledge passed down through experience, memory, and consequences. We did not survive by waiting patiently for moral awakening. We survived because we refused permanent victimhood. Our history includes endurance. Yes, that's true. It does. But it also includes resistance. It includes retaliation. It includes strategic force when necessary. From whether we talk about slave revolts, whether we talk about armed self-defense, mass migrations, to rebuilding wealth after it was destroyed. We adapted to pressure with action. Passive suffering has never been a viable survival strategy for foundational Black Americans. Like you see these immigrants doing. They just gonna wait around till ICE, gets tired. That's passive suffering, begging us to come help them. See, as far as us, when lawful avenues were blocked and accountability was denied, pressure escalated. They escalate, we escalate. And see, sometimes that pressure took the form of organized institutional building and legal warfare, whether we talk about the NAACP, Legal Defense Fund, resistance, nonviolent resistance, okay? Other times it took the form of disruption. That escalation was not a failure of character, it was a response to conditions. A people who intend to survive must retain the capacity to respond when systems refuse to correct themselves. And that's why we reject the framing of our uprisings as random chaos. Tulsa was not an accident. It was punishment for Black success. I think we can agree on that. These urban uprisings that I spoke about tonight, they were not meaningless destruction. They were political language spoken when the system refused to listen to us. When the courts fell, police were protected, and the politicians shooed us away, as they say in New Orleans. They stalled. And unrest became one of the few remaining ways to force recognition. Order in this country has often mattered more than justice. Unless order itself was threatened, then we didn't get justice. So we learned that lesson repeatedly. And when nothing else worked, and we were pushed into a corner and we saw no relief. Disruption became communication. And that's not glorifying destruction. I'm not glorifying the loss of life. I'm not glorifying anything. I told you about the story I saw firsthand. It was a horrible. I didn't want to see anybody. I saw people get shot at the corner of Normandy and Florence. I saw a woman get beat. I don't care what color she are. I don't want to see that. I don't justify that. But nothing else worked. And so that level of disruption and destruction became the way the people communicated. And I'm not glorifying it. I'm just explaining the cause and the effect. When peaceful appeals are ignored, pressure finds another outlet. We are not a peaceful people in the mythological sense, and we never have had the luxury to be at peace. Peaceful is an identity available to populations protected by the state. We're not protected. We're targeted. And our survival required vigilance, readiness, and the capacity to escalate when restraint was punished instead of rewarded. And that does not mean we glorify violence. I don't want anybody to walk away from that. It means we understand its role in the power dynamics. A community that cannot defend itself legally or economically or physically does not remain a community for long. Our history taught us that moral appeals without leverage invite abuse. Readiness was not ideology, it was necessity. And our culture, the one that they say we don't have, it itself had developed a survival technology inside of a hostile state. If a culture is a set of rules and procedures for meeting a people's needs, then our culture was forged under the most extreme conditions America has ever imposed on a population: slavery, a caste system, terrorism, dispossession, exclusion from protection. And that environment shaped how we think. It shaped how we organize, and it shaped how we remember and respond. And that's why our culture includes church, but it also includes humor. It includes music, it includes kinship networks, it includes oral history, and it also includes hard political instincts. We learn to speak the language of American ideals while navigating the reality of American violence. And when the system refuses to hear lawful complaint, pressure escalates, boycott, strikes, disruption, and sometimes riots and collective force. That's not contradictions. That is part of the same survival system that we've developed. We are Americans not because we recite the myth, but because we understand the mechanism. America resolves conflict through power when persuasion fails. And we learn that lesson through experience, not theory. And that's why we are permanent and we're not provisional. That's why every attempt to suppress, abandon, replace, or erase us has failed or produced consequences far more costly than justice would have been. And so here's the deeper truth. And I want y'all to get in tight. I'm just explaining. I'm just telling you what it is. Okay? It might be uncomfortable, but we need to talk. Okay? Y'all still with me? Let me know if you're still with me. We're not trapped in this country with anyone else. This country is trapped in here with us. Because see, we built it with our labor and our resilience and our refusal to disappear. Ignoring justice does not erase that debt, it compounds it. And history shows again and again that when pressure is ignored long enough, the bill always comes due. So foundational Black Americans, the American Negro, the freedmen, the colored people, the former slaves, ADOS, the Solon people. We're not a group that can be displaced, replaced, or erased because we are structurally embedded in the United States itself. We're not here by permission or immigration or tolerance. We were made American through force, labor, and survival. And because of that, every attempt to deny us justice doesn't remove us, it destabilizes the country instead. History shows that when access to safety, wealth, and dignity is permanently blocked, the pressure doesn't disappear, it redirects. Cities burn, economies stall, legitimacy breaks, and the cost to the system multiplies. This pattern isn't accidental, it's predictable. So when you say, or let me say it like this, let me lay it down where everybody can understand. If we can't have it, nobody can have it. We'll tear it down before we let it go. And I'm not glorifying destruction. I'm describing leverage born from permanence. We don't have another country to retreat to. We don't have another identity to fall back on. We don't have a homeland to return to. This is it. And when a population can't leave and is denied justice long enough, the system itself becomes a bargaining chip. And that response isn't foreign. It's not even un-American. It is an American. It's as American as rebellion. It's American as the Revolutionary War. It's as rebellion as the Civil War. It's as American as labor uprisings. Hell, it's as American as state formations. And that's the difference between foundational Black Americans and these immigrant populations. Immigrants, no matter how successful, they're still optional to the state. And we're not. The country can survive political disagreements and demographic shifts and policy failures, but it has never survived indefinitely while refusing to resolve its original crime. And that's why deportation is a fantasy. That's why elimination is impossible. That's why we're not going anywhere. And the country can either pay the cost of justice or keep paying a much higher cost of avoidance. They're lucky we're resting. I appreciate you all. God bless you all. Thank you all so much. I hope you appreciate this. I love you all. And I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to my fellow Americans. God bless the United States of America. I love this country. I hope you do too. Our ancestors fought, bled, and died for this country. And anybody who suggests that Black Americans would be deported next, just tell them no. It's not going to happen. We are Americans. We are the Americans. I'm out.
In the Spurling podcast, hit the like button, subscribe.